All right, let's do this. Sorry, gotta turn the music off. Can't be streaming copyrighted music. Actually, I don't, but it's gonna make it in the YouTube video. Let me put a mark in the video right now so I can go chop it. We're on week 7 of the beginner boost. If you don't know what that is, hopefully people will come on in. I'm just checking everything, make sure it's all good. I had a lot of setup to do today. I look a little oranger than usual. Well, it's because my you know what? Let me fix that. Let me just fix my camera real quick. While people are still trickling in, I don't know if they will. It's the weekend, so they're probably not going to be doing boost things today. Today we are going to do VI, and we're going to jump right in. If you do not have a virtual machine, go download it. Go to @RWXRob /boostvm on GitHub and go download the VM and get it going. We talked about that yesterday the entire time, so we are not going to do anything with that right now. Where's that balance? Here we go. Let's go back down to 3200. It'll make me a little bit regular looking, a little bit more normal looking. There we go. In case you notice, I'm streaming with a GoPro now. GoPro's my webcam. That's all it's good for. Turn my phone down, but y'all are here. All right, so let's jump right in, and get going with this. We are going to take breaks, but I'm not going to put the pomo on because it's too much of a hassle. I'm just going to leave it off. I mean, I have it and everything, but so I'm assuming everybody has got a virtual machine at this point. If you do not have a virtual machine, you probably just want to turn the video off and go watch last week's video, which is on YouTube. And in fact, let me go make sure it's there and just bring everybody's attention to it. If you haven't done last week's boost, it's not even worth watching this because you're not going to be able to do it with us. Yeah, I don't know why Stream Elements is. I want to turn Stream Elements off, but Stream Labs is busted right now, so that's why that's doing that. If you go to youtube.com/RWXRob, you'll see where it is. And I'm talking, I'm sorry. And so there's week 4, week 5, week 6, okay? Then we got week 6. And it's really important that you watch last week because we pretty much went entirely into just how to set up how to set up a VM and everything. And we went in. I don't want to go over that again. I spent like 3 hours doing it last week. All right, so we're just going to do VI this week, but we're going to assume that you have the boost VM. So let me just remind you again where that's at. GitHub.com, @RWXRob /boost VM. If you go to /boost, there's a link to it as well. But if you go in here, you can click down VM Workstation Player for free. You can get the Workstation Pro, which is different if you want to consider buying Workstation. We talked about it last week. You have Fusion Mac, which is free. And then you can go get the OVA file and you can download that. There's a couple, tweaks and bugs and stuff in the OVA file, but you don't really need to worry about those. You can just use it the way we have it now. And I'm going to be starting from the assumption we don't have anything like that. We have a boost, but no boost VM yet. I need to get you that. So here's the link. I have to update some of my commands. I'm thinking about switching over to Stream Elements after this fiasco with Streamlabs, this major bug that just had this week. But their overlays are worse, so I don't know, we'll see. And so anyway, this is where you get the VM. Take time to do that right now. But pretty much the rest of the day is going to be VI and Unix filters and stuff like that. So I do have my Zelicast in back, so we might actually do that really quick. Let's clone the boost. So here's the boost. Git pull. Yep. All right. So we got that, and we can add week 5 to this. Git switch. You guys don't know about Git yet, so don't worry. We're learning VI first, and Git switch to 2022. All right. So and we did 6 last week. Make directory 07. So I'm going to try to take notes as we go, but inevitably we'll need to do some more stuff there. So I'm actually using VI for this, and we're going to start from VI. We're going to start VI as if you've never seen it before. And there are so many people who have done tutorials on VI out there. There's all the different takes on it. And I'm just going to add mine to the mix. I think VI is the most powerful, thing on the planet. When it comes to editing, we're going to do VI. We're going to do Ed, VI, and Vim editing. Okay. And we're going to talk about why that matters and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, week 07, week 7 and stuff. All right. So in order to talk about this, we have to go back to the beginning a little bit. There used to be, if you did a man page, if you did a man on Ed, it would tell you that it's the only editor that exists. It's the standard Unix editor. GNU Ed is a line-oriented text editor, is used to create, display, modify, and otherwise manipulate text files. So we have been doing all kinds of stuff to read data and read information, but we have not done anything to make new files. Now, so let's focus on that first, okay? Let's focus on getting text into a file. So last week we did how, last week we did how to, manipulate a file and all of that, but we did not do beyond that, right? So let's figure that out. I'm going to leave ISO stamps off today. I'm not going to mess with it. I just want to get through this fast. So how do you get text into a file? So let me ask right now. Let's ask some quiz a little bit from last week. How do you redirect the output of a program? So say ls, right? How do I put that into a file right now? We already know this. We covered it already, but I'm deliberately covering it again. How do you do it? Anybody? If you want to put text or output, if you want to make all the fine. Yes. All right. So you do the greater than sign or the right angle bracket, depends on what you want to call it. Yeah, there you go. So you do ls-l or whatever, and we redirect to a file, to foo or whatever, right? And now I have a file called foo. How do I read that file? How do I look in that file? I mean, this is just a light review. How do I look at that file and see what's in there? What's next? There's lots of ways to do it, but what are your favorite? There's cat foo, okay. Cat foo, right? That just concatenates the thing. It dumps it out, right? What if okay, let's talk about that. What if I wanted to just see line, there's tac? Yeah, good one. A lot of people don't know about tac. We should probably actually did I put that in the other one? Tac is cool. Tac is cat backwards. Check it out. Pretty fun, huh? If you want the last line to appear first, which often you do because you just want to see that, you can do head and tail. Yes. So let's look at all the commands to read the file. So we've got head which defaults to, I'm not going to go through them again. We've done this already, but I'm going to go through them really quickly because, editing a file comes after putting stuff in a file. So let's go through those other ones. More. Yeah. You have more and less. Those are the pagers, right? Less. Good job. Got everybody. So we got less foo, right? We got head. Oopsie. We got head foo. If you put -1, right, there's the first line, or actually, yeah, let's do head -2. How about that? We get the first two lines. By the way, head -1 is used for lots of things. It's a way to use a file as a variable that's persistent. And we learned that the file system in inode, if the amount of data is less than, I think, 255 characters, that it actually gets stored in the inode table. It doesn't even touch the file system outside of the inode table, which is super interesting. Somebody from our group found that. Cat foo, yeah, cat foo grep. What's another way to do that? So you could do grep, dco, and you could feed it foo, right? There's a PCI grep on here. That's my bad. If you guys know how to install it, right? So I took over my grep with PCI grep. So we already did installing stuff. You should know how to do that. So there. It's not DCI. It's DC something. Yeah. Okay. There. By the way, this is one of my Moon. I'm going to pick on you for a second. It's nothing personal, but this is one of my biggest pet peeves in all of land, Unix, Linux land. When people cat a thing just to grep it. Now that makes sense if you got a pipeline, right? But there's a lot of reason people do that, and then they start to do loops in Bash, and that's a huge problem. We're going to get into that probably next week. We're going to do Bash, I have a feeling. And this is actually, there's really no reason for that, because you could do this instead, right? You could do grep DC foo, or you could do grep DC here foo. Either of those are more robust and will not create a subshell, which will shadow a bunch of your shell script variables when we go to do shell scripting. So I'm just going to, this is a very common mistake on Stack Exchange and Stack Overflow while it's there and other stuff. So I'm just going to tell you right now, resist the urge to cat things into grep, right? And you want to get into the habit of feeding things into grep. And I don't think we did the command redirection last time. Don't let me forget about it. We need to make sure we do command redirection today. But it's complicated, and it kind of goes along with the conversation about Unix filters. So we did touch on it a little bit last time, but I don't want to dwell on it too much right now. We will come back to it though. So we got our review of how to read things, yeah. But I don't want to forget it. So I'm going to put using subshell expansion as text strings. And that it's kind of a thing for Bash, so I'm kind of holding off on it, but it does kind of go here too. All right, so the only thing I wanted to review there is how to read stuff and how to get it out of there. So we had head, tail, cat, tac, all of that. So the first program to actually modify, if you wanted to add, here's another one we forgot. What if you wanted to add something to the end of a file that already exists? These are all ways of editing a file. So today is focused on editing files. What's another way to add something? Yes, the double greater than sign, or the double right bracket, whatever you want to call it. That means append, right? So I can say echo, hey there, this is the last line. By the way, why am I putting quotes around that? Why am I putting quotes around that? We covered that yet? So we're gonna put that on the end of our foo file, right? And now, but Mr. Rob, I can't see the foo file. Well, let's cat it now. Let's cat foo. Yeah, it makes it a single parameter, you're right, and it escapes and stuff. So there it is. If I were to do tac, it would be the first one, right? It'd be the first line, and then I can pipe tac to head -1, and boom, I've got that. If you want. You could also just do tail -1, which is much easier. Same thing, right? Of course, in echo, it usually would work, yes. In that case, it doesn't, but it makes it one argument, yeah. In that particular case, it would be fine until you start putting quotes. Okay, so why all of this review? How do you change the content of a file? That's the topic. And right now, we've learned that, we've already learned last week that you can change the content of a file by dumping stuff in there with append, by putting it in for the first time and overwriting it with greater than, and by adding more to it that way. Okay, so that's actually the only way you know how to edit a file. How would you, there's lots of other reasons we want to deal with Unix, particularly when we're just from the terminal. We want to say we don't have VS Code or any of those things. We're like, how do I change this stuff in the file? Well, that's where text editing comes in. It's kind of a no-brainer to say that, but I need to introduce it that way. And also, we're going to do a little bit of a history lesson now. So travel back with me to 1975, I think it was, 5 or 6, when Unix was conceived. The original Unix was written in assembly, and the C language, a fun fact, was invented to make Unix because they were like, we're not writing this whole thing. And so they invented, Dennis Ritchie and the gang invented C, and then Ken Thompson, and then they put together and they started making Unix. And they're like, oh my gosh, we've got to figure out a way to, they only had a terminal. There was no other thing besides that. And Linux is, of course, the ancestor of all of that stuff. So we still have all of that. And the first editor that was ever made was called ed. And you still have ed on almost every system that's out there. But I know this is going to sound weird. Cat V. Cat is considered harmful. Yeah, I don't. Cat is horrible. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of cat. So cat is considered harmful. Yes. I don't think you should be catting most of the time anyway. I think you should usually be feeding. Anyway, thank you for that link. So, back then they're like, well, gosh, we need to make these files that have C code in them. How are we going to do it? And the very first editor that was ever invented was ed. And I mean the first text editor used on a computer. I would venture to say even before the mainframes were able to edit files and stuff. I don't know that. It would be interesting to find out. Was called ed. And you're like, well, what value was there for me to learn ed? And most people, I challenge you to find a single person on YouTube or Twitch who will teach you ed. They won't, because it's like, oh, nobody uses ed anymore. Oh, that's boomer tech, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not, actually. When you're using Vim, you're using ed the whole entire time. You just don't know it. In fact, VI, so let me give you the TLDR. So ed was the first line editor. We start at 1. Ed was the first line editor. Okay, did I start early? Yeah. Ed was the first line editor. And then they're like, man, but it was a line editor. That means that it doesn't have to have a full terminal. It just has to be able to read standard input and output. That's it. Can you think, I'm going to ask a question. If you're a hacker, can you think of a reason that being able to use ed might be beneficial to you? Yeah. Yep. QED precedes ed. Oh, does QED precede ed? I did not know that. Thank you for that. It must have been right before ed. Yeah. I think QED was probably a mainframe version of it, right? The idea is it's a line editor, right? So what you do is you start it up and it takes in a command and then it does a thing and then it goes back. And the thing that's really cool about it is you can create one-liners that change files. We're going to do it actually a little bit. My ed is really rusty. It's really, really rusty. So it's probably good that I go try this again. But I think that once you do, and we're going to do this together and you're going to laugh at me, but I really want you to have an experience with ed first, because when you get into VI after that, so here's the TLDR. So ed became X. X was sort of an improved version of ed. It was a line editor. And everybody comes along and they, you know what? We got these fancy curses terminals now where we can refresh the whole screen and stuff. Let's make a visual version of ed. Anybody know what the RC file? This is a question for the old timers here. Anybody know what the name of the RC file is for VI? Like extra bonus points if you can remember. I had one actually in the 90s. I had one. I was working on Solaris systems. I had VI. I didn't have Vim. You're like, what's that? Is there a difference? Yes, there's a big difference. XRC. Yep. So the very first, there was no VimRC. There was no any of these things. It was when VI first, and to this day, if you're on an AIX system or Solaris box and you want to use VI, actual VI, you create an XRC if you want to see the line numbers and stuff. It's very limited. So, and we'll get into RC files at the end of the day, probably today a little bit. We're not going to dovetail into Vim script like we did last year because it's just too much. But I will show you enough of it to understand. That's why we made a virtual machine for you to get started. So you can just use my VimRC like I did to somebody else. I used their VimRC without understanding it for probably 6 years. And then I started reading it and understanding it, but I didn't feel like I needed to. I just wanted it to work. And so there's no shame in doing that. People have been doing that for decades, more than decades, with Unix. So as we jump into this, let's think about that. But let me ask the question again. Why would a hacker want to learn ed? I'm going to take a little drink here. Throw me your best ideas out there. I want you to think about this for a second, particularly if you're going to become a hacker. Why would a hacker, that's a good one, regular expressions. Mm-hmm. Why would a hacker want to learn ed? Anybody know about, because it will be on every machine? Okay, that's a good reason. Because he won't want to waste time. Yeah. No. Orgs might not lock down ed on their machines, maybe. What's funny is they're actually removing ed from a lot of machines because it's considered a security vulnerability for the reason I'm going to tell you if you don't get it. VI will pretty much be on every machine too. Yeah, it's on every box, right? No, those are the kind of the intuitive answers, but there's something more subtle about it. Yes, Cherry nailed it. So Cherry Romanus nailed it. You said line editor is that the smaller portions of the file, less traffic. Yes, Stephen, that's exactly right. So you guys, Cherry got it. So ding ding, the answer is because Ed does not require a full terminal. And if you watch the OSCP stream, the offensive security stream with Siren, great hacker, if you watch them, they will spend an extremely large amount of time elevating a backdoor vulnerability they've broken into the system, and they've got a terminal. They've got a terminal, but they don't have a full terminal. They just have a command line. And so their payload doesn't give them a full PTY, and we talked about that three boosts 3 weeks ago. It hasn't given them a full terminal, a terminal that lets them clear the screen and do all that visual fun stuff, right? And if you watch Siren, I watched Siren once, and they spent quite a bit of time just getting the terminal back up to where they could actually use it as a terminal. But if you know Ed and you don't ever manage to do that, and you're under time, you can just edit files, boom, 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 and you don't even have to have a full terminal. You can have just a command line. You can have a program that reads standard input and then throws those commands and sends them right to the kernel through system commands. So as there's other benefit as well, including knowing how to be more powerful when you use VI and stuff. In their process, it won't record any logs, especially if you do it in a script session. Yes, yeah. There's a lot of reasons. There's no Vim log. There's a lot of reasons to learn Ed. And there's going to be software developers out there, but no, I'm not learning Ed. And the reason that a software developer might want to learn Ed is if you're going to do Vim development, Ed is VI. Ed is X, which is VI. It's kind of an indirect way of going about it. Let me finish some of the work and I'll be joining. No, you do whatever you have to do. We're going to be here till 5. Okay, so let's do some Ed. And by the way, the last time I did Ed was last boost, so I don't use it all the time, so it'll be really fun. So let's learn about Ed. In fact, if you do man Ed on some systems, it will say that Ed is the Unix editor. It's the standard Unix editor. It's a running cultural joke in the Unix Linux world. Is anytime there's a fight about editors, about Emacs versus VI or whatever, they'll always be like, well, Ed is the standard Unix editor. Rob Pike will say that, and it's true. It's true. It kind of shuts the debate down. But if you ask me, that actually supports VI because VI is visual mode of Ed. So, I'm probably going to stop using visual mode and use more colon commands. Exactly, Cherry. Exactly. And that's why I wanted to start with it. We're not going to spend a lot of time struggling with Ed, okay? But I want you to learn enough Ed so that when we go through the VI tutorial, which we're going to do today as well, you're going to be like, wait a second, is that an Ed command? And you'll be like, yes. But what's this ZZ thing? Oh, that's something VI added. But :WQ, what is that? That's an Ed command. You're going to be running into tons of Ed commands. And you're going to realize when we go, if you already know VI and you go back to learn Ed, you're like, oh my gosh, I think I already knew all this stuff, right? And it makes you a much better command-oriented person when you're using VI. And if this is assuming you just have a terminal, and we're assuming you just have a terminal here. If you want to do any of these fancy things and you have VS Code or something like that, or a big fancy IDE or Eclipse or whatever, fine. We're not talking about that. This isn't a war about editing. It's talking about being productive on the command line, even a minimal command line. No, I didn't say terminal. I said command line. Don't tell Pike and Kerrigan that one. Yeah, the Loves guys weren't too fond of the UC Berkeley group. No, they were not. Just cat fighting. Yeah, well, it's fun stuff. All right, so what is Ed? Ed is a GNU line editor oriented editor. Is just create a display. We know about man already. You already learned about that. Just a reminder again, if you don't know where to go get this VM, go to github.com/rbxrob/boostvm, and you can click down. You can start downloading it. It's 4 gig. I wish it was smaller, and you can install this VM and run it. And so we have all these cool things you can do. And you can do info add to read more about it. I mean, info is one of those commands that is akin to man that dates back years and years and years. So I don't remember my ed commands, so we're just going to jump right in. And I told you this was this is the first year where we've taken an extraordinarily long amount of time to do anything, but we're just playing together. And so I encourage you right now to get your terminal up, to get UD up, and to help me like struggle through this myself. And let's remind ourselves of all of these ed commands. So the first command I know is to do ed and then the name of the file. So we have ed foo, right? And no such file foo. What do you mean? It's like right here. Oh wait, I made a new thing. Oh, how do we get out of here? How do we get out? Oh no, I don't know what to do. Now, if you were to make, I know, but if you were to make the comment like, here, let's get a, we're gonna open up a TMX terminal down here. Do you know we learned TMX last week? Didn't we learn? We learned TMX last week, right? How to split screens and stuff. Control Z. No, not Control Z. Please don't. We went through how to unsuspend your terminal. You can't use ZZ, I don't think. No, because it's ed. No, it's ed. That's why I have WQ in my survival guide. Uh-oh. 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 I think actually, no, I don't think you put the colon in front of it anymore. Resist, restart VM. There we go. Just a Q. You don't have to put the colons in front of your commands. Yeah, I know. I forgot. I told you it's going to be a reminder. I'm not pretending to be the winner here. All right, so let's do it again. So we're in the wrong place. So let me close that guy. Okay, over here. All right, so let's do this. What is in our foo file? So first of all, remember we have this foo file which has a bunch of like ls stuff in it. Yeah. We want to remove that last line. Let's try that. So yeah, let's do that. So ed foo, and that should open up the file. Oh, we have 915 characters. And I think I remember if I wanted to, is it P? I think it's P for printing all the characters. Yeah. P, I do not remember, and I don't even remember how I learned it. So let's go back and find my way. There's actually a cheat sheet for ed somewhere. I just do not remember where it is. I honestly, I can't remember where I learned it last. Wait, ed cheat sheet. This is my own search the internet command, which we did last week. Ed cheat sheet, ed Unix text editor cheat sheet. Let's look at this one. All right, sed awk plain text. Download the cheat sheet in text. Oh, okay. Well. Do I have to, can I just click on it? Ooh, here we go. I like this one. Here we go. Okay, so, I mean, I just went out to the internet and searched and found it. Okay, so I remember P. P prints the current line, right? So that's the line you're on. Now, notice that I'm on the last line. That's, okay, the whole buffer is comma P, because then that's like, because comma, all right. And if you put a number in front of it, it will go to that line, I'm pretty sure. Yes. It did. You see that? Line 2, P. P. Line 3, P. Line 4, P. Well, let's actually do a better file here. Let's do a file that's got line numbers in it. All right. So I'm gonna quit that. And I'm gonna remove that. Let's actually, I'm gonna use VI for a second. I'm gonna cheat. All right, so line 1. Actually, I'm going to write some code that writes code. For I in 1 to 10, do echo. We're going to learn how to do this, I promise. Echo, this is line whatever. Done. And like, why are you writing bash in your code that you want to replace this? And I'm going to send it to the filter command, run it through bash, and we get 10 lines. Cool, huh? That's how you should be using VI, by the way. There's lots of people who don't know how to do that, who claim to know Vim. And let's do this. Let's say, okay, so now we're going to ed that thing. All right. We're going to edit. So it loads. So the first thing to note, I just noticed here, is it loads the entire buffer. And it says it's on 151. That's how do you know? Because if I do P, then we see that we're on line 10. But if I want to go to line 1, it's on line 1. It prints it out for me automatically, right? If I want to go to line 5, oh gosh, I push 5, 4, line 4, 6, line 6, and it just prints out the line as you go. So that's the first thing to know. And it does an implicit PEP is just print. And then, so the nth, if you just put a number, it just does the number. And the nth line in the buffer where n is a number in a range. Now, you can combine these commands. So like if I wanted to print out line 1, I could do 1p, and that'll print out what's on line 1, even though the current line, oh, look at that. It took me to p. It took me to 1 again. I thought I was on 6. 6, 1p. Oh, no. Okay, I guess it jumps you and then it prints you. That's interesting. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it just printed out the one at that line. Ooh, there's last line in the buffer. Okay, so what does dollar represent? Dollar is the last line, so it goes to the last line, line 10. And the previous line is dash. Okay, I have dash, 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 dash. What do we got? We got the up caret that goes to the, what is that? Does that not print it though? Oh, that's interesting. -1, -1, minus, 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 minus. Uh-oh, I'm on the first line. All right, so, and you can put a range too. So you can do like 2, 4, or 3, 4. This is line 4. I think you can do 3, 4, P, no? There we go. So you can use a range. Now the range is using the comma thing, right? But like Jerry was saying, if you don't use a number there and you just put a comma, you get everything because it starts with, you know, the defaults to the beginning line and the end line. So that prints everything in the whole file. If you just want to print the first line, it's like that. If you want to print line 1 and 2, you print it like that. If you want to print line 1 and 5, you print it like this. So obviously this became tedious to edit, you know, an entire C code file. That's where VI visual mode of ed or X came in. But let's keep with it for a bit. So how do I actually change the line? That's what this day is about. How do I change them, right? The thing that's really great, by the way, about ed stuff is you can script it. You can script ed stuff just using basic commands. You can send the commands to ed. So like, watch, I want to show this. We already did pipes before, right? So I'm pretty sure you can do this. You can say echo p, oops, and we'll send that to edfoo, I think. There, you see that? See what it did? So it did exactly what I wanted to do. If I want to say I want lines 1 to 5, no history command ed. Oh no, are you kidding me? So there, I got line 1 to 5. Now it did put that thing in there. I wonder if there's a quiet. Is there a quiet or an S? Yeah, if you do S, it'll be quieter. So already you can see that there's, by the way, this came about way before grep came about, and they were kind of, you know, at the same time. But you can actually script modifying a file in place with ed. And you know, there's lots of other ways to do that, but you can write an interactive session that does editing if you want to do it. So let's like, here's 5. Let's like line 5, right? And I mean, let me ask you a question. How would you print out line 5 in a file without ed? Pretty interesting, huh? Think about that for a second. Let's say you only want exactly line 5 from a file. You know it's always on line 5. How would you just print out line 5? I mean, you'd have to write a full. Most people, myself included, would end up writing a full script just to get to line 5. We would like iterate through the whole thing and we get to line 5, but you can do it with like that. You just both head and tail. You just use echo 5p to ed. Awk nr equals 5. Exactly. You could use awk. Awk is one of the. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. That awk, by the way, was made to help out with all this stuff, and was the primary motivation for creating Perl, because there were so many different versions of awk and they didn't follow any standards. If you really want to know the dirty history there, ask Larry Wall what he thinks of awk. He's the guy who invented Perl. You can do head -5, tail -1. That's probably what I would do. But I just want to show you that this kind of thing can be done reliably with ed as well. You got to make sure you put your S in there, though. Otherwise, you're going to get, you know, other output that you don't want. And what does that do, by the way? So let's go look at what -S does. It says, I'm pretty sure it says silent, and I'm pretty sure it's supported everywhere. Suppress diagnostics by counts and blah prompt. All right. I mean, it's not the most reliable way to do it. I think head and tail would be guaranteed to never fail. It would always give you the same thing. It wouldn't accidentally give you some other stuff out there. But you know, if you want to just modify line 5, you're going to start using awk and things for that. Or you know, there's other tools, but ed is a tool, and it might be that that's the only thing you have on the system. So only tails. So so yeah, so there we go. We got some stuff there. Now let's actually start playing around with modifying files. Oh, I didn't know that you can put a dash on that. I want to try that one. Let's try that. All right, so ed dash s foo. Ooh, all right, that's nice and quiet now. It's quiet. How do you save an ed? W. So we haven't done that yet. We're gonna do it right now. So first of all, what line am I on? P. I'm on line 10. I want to go back 3 lines. Now I'm on line 7. All right. So we're gonna add a line, right? So we could go to line 10 just by pushing 10, and I think it's O, actually. No, I don't think it's O. It's not O. I can't remember. O is the VI thing. I'm guessing it's a bad idea. Let's go down and look. So plus the next line. Plus is the next line. Plus N is the next line. Comma, first through whatever. Percent is everything. This is an important one, okay? See this right here? If you want to see everything, this is a really important one. This is equivalent to the address range from 1 to the end. So $$ is end and 1 is the first line, right? The current through last lines in the buffer. Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that one. I'll go back a couple lines. I did not know this one. The current through last lines. Interesting. I didn't seem to do it though. At least I didn't print it all the way through there. I don't know. I don't know if I trust that one. RE, this is where grep came from, by the way. So the next line containing the regular expression RE. So then these are basic regular expressions. There's 3 types of regular expressions. We already covered regular expressions the other day. There's basic. And what are the other 2? What are the 3 types of regular expressions? And they will trip you up if you don't remember the differences. Hey, thanks for that, Paul. So you have basic, and you have extended, and you have PCRE or Perl compatible. Okay, so these are basic, really basic, and not basic in a good way. So we're gonna say, let's go to line 1, and then let's search for anything that's got line 8 in there. Hey, look, it jumped us ahead to line 8. Oh, does it have to have a space? Oh, thank you for catching that, Steven. Thank you for that. That's wonderful. Thank you. Now I know what's up. Oh, it's dot. And dot means the current line. This is so important, okay? Dot means the current line. So if I want to see dot to the end, I can do that. I can do dot, comma, this, and then P. It didn't work. Can I do P dot, comma, this? No. Can I do this, comma, this, P? No. Can I do this? Yes. Wait, it's because I'm already on the last line. Duh. Okay. There we go. So there we go. You can do this the same thing. That's the same thing apparently as this. Except for I was already on there, so I have to do it again. I have to go back. I don't like that it moves you there. But whatever. That's how it is. So there we go. It takes us all the way to the end. And then we have regular expressions, which we did. So we have to go back to the beginning, and then let's search. Again, this is pretty much all it's going to take. We're just going to spend like an hour on ed, but I really want you to understand it, because when we start going into VI, the tutorial, you're going to really understand it. So we have to search for something that's got a unique something in it. So we're going to search for the number 9, not for, we're not going to line 9. And it will be line 9, but it's because it has a 9 in it, not because it's line 9. Question mark takes you to the previous one. You don't have to put the trailing on there if you don't want to. If you do put the trailing one on there, you can actually give it another command. And you can say, I want you to do all of these things with it, right? So let's try that. So if I go to line 1, right, and I say, I want to print all the lines that have a 1 in them. Oh, it is already on line 1, so we had to skip that one. How about that? How about we do all of the lines that have is in them? We'll go to line 1, and we'll print, I mean, it's every line, but, you know, is print. Oh, it just went to the next one. I wonder if I have to do the, like, E in there, or G. Oh, no. Huh. This is interesting. It's good for me to practice this. I thought it was G for, like, the next one. Needs global. I thought it was G for global. Oh, X. It's X. Is it X? X is extended. It's not global. Yeah. I thought that too, but I guess not. Maybe it doesn't have it. It's not. There's no extended here. This is basic expression. This is a good reminder for me too. I don't know. So, is P. It just takes you to the next one. Huh. Interesting. Oh, if you do this, it repeats the last search. What? I did not know that. Just one just says it too. Oh, look, it wrapped around too. I did not know that either. If it stops to search, it wraps around. That's super important. It wrapped around to the beginning. Did you see that? It did. It went all the way to the top again. That's kind of cool. All right, let's do this. Oh, look, it goes backwards this time. It's finding all the lines with is in them, one at a time. Interesting. Okay. What do we got? LC, the line previously marked by a K mark command. I did not know marks were part of ed. Today I learned. I don't use marks for anything, but people do. I use searching for stuff. Make a script called VI to manipulate ed. What a great idea. It could be a visual mode of ed. I did not know that marks with K are... I'm not even going to play with marks. If you want to play with that, go for it. I don't use them. I find them annoying. So I do everything based on keyword searching. So, but anyway, that's kind of cool that it exists. Each address is a common delimiter range. Again, this is a boost, so we're not going to do the whole thing, but you can go through it and play with it. I want to get to VI. So each address is a common delimiter range interpreted to the current address. Semicolon delimiter range. VI added the uppercase marks that it is to be crossfire. I think that might be why, yeah. Yeah, I think they might have. So appends text to the buffer after the address. There we go. So here is append. After the address line. So this inserts, I think it actually adds a new line. Let's try it. So here we go. We're going to say A, but I think we have to put the text like this is line 4.5. P. Uh-oh. What's the next line? What's the next plus, right? Oh, it didn't do it. Darn it. Appends text to the buffer after the address line, which may be the... Wait, where did I put it? You end your A section with a dot. I did? Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay. This is I forgot all about that. Yes. That's actually a problem because the beginning dot on the beginning of a line was a problem. Remember in the old mail handlers? This is something that is someplace around line 5. But, and here is another line. And then we put dot on its own line. No? Look at that. Let's go back. Oh, what? Hold up a minute. It did it. It did it. It's also no longer line 5. Line 6 is no longer line 6. Watch. Line 6 is now something else because I screwed it up. So let's try to change that. changes lines in the buffer. So A adds some stuff at the current place. C changes lines in the buffer. That's the one we want. Yeah. We have to tell what lines we want, right, to change. So let's try that. Let's see if we could add. We need to make line. All right. So this is line 5. Yeah. And we'll put plus. We'll go to the next one. Line 5. This is actually line 6. This is line 7. So this is now line 8. So how do I change? Let's change. This is line 6 to this is line 8. I know this is hard, but let's do it. All right, so changes. The address lines are deleted from the buffer. The text is appended in place. The address line. So if we do dot, which is the default, we're assuming the current line. Okay, so let's do the current. We don't even put a dot, but if we do, we can say this. We could say C, enter. This is 5, 6, 7, 8. Line 8. This is actually line 8. Oops. Push the thing there. Yeah, and then we'll put a thing here and then a dot. And I go previous and previous. Wait, what? Oh, here is line 8. All right, so this is line 5. Let's make sure. So if I go 5, it goes to line 5. Okay, if we go to line 6, it should be this next thing. If we go to line 7, it should be this thing. There's another line. If we go to line 8, it should be our newly edited line. This is actually line 8. And line 9 is going to be messed up. That's where C and Vim comes from. Yeah. Who would have thought? This is why I'm doing this, by the way. This is why we're going through this pain and suffering, to learn a little bit of ed. Because when we go into VI, it'll make so much more sense. Like, why did they make these two different things? Why didn't they just make nano? And that's why. All right, so because they had to build something on top of the line editor. Editing like it's 1973, absolutely. Why not? Because you can do it anywhere. Any system on planet Earth is going to have ed or VI on it, pretty much. They're getting rid of it, though. I am not kidding. They're starting to remove ed from modern Linux systems because it's not only for lightweight containers, but because it's considered a security violation. But even Alpine BusyBox containers have ed and VI. So there. So yeah. Deletes the address lines from the buffer. Edit files and sets the default file name. That's like if you want to add another file. I'm having mixed feelings doing all of this stuff. I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm saying that this is going to make Vim easier for you to understand. I don't use ed ever in my day-to-day routine, but I think that learning how it works is worth struggling with it once a year just to understand where Vim is coming from. Hey, how's it going, Het? Edit the file. Edits the file and sets the default file name if the file name is not specified. E command edits the standard output of the command. That's interesting. And we're going to skip all of those for now. We're going to get to the important one. Sets the default file name to file if the file is not specified. So you can actually rename the file. You can use regular expressions here. Applies command list to each of the address lines matching a regular expression. It is actually. Oh, you have to put the G first. You have to put the G first. That's where grep came from. Can you see this? Grep. And if you put a P right here, what does the P do? There's a video about this. The origin of grep. This is the origin of grep. They wanted to take their most common P for print. They wanted to take their most common ed thing and turn it into its own command because they did it so much. So they made grep. That's where grep comes from. It says do it for every line, a regular expression, and then print it. Just print it out. And computer file interval. Yeah. Yep. So let's go down some more. Doing computer archaeology. It kind of is. If you put n, show the number line and its content on the same line. Oh. Yes. Yes, you can do that as well. I think it's probably time for us to move on to VI, but I don't want to leave Hey, look at capital G. There's a capital G, RE. Interactive. What's this cheat sheet, by the way? I gotta... Y'all want this? Here, this is a pretty good cheat sheet, actually. I mean, it doesn't have to cover very much. It's Ed. Why can I not do this? There's the cheat sheet. All right, so I'm gonna put this in our boost notes. Yeah. No. Do we have one open already? And I forgot to. I think I did. Related links. Bum ba 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 doo ba doo. All right. So, did I swear? Please tell me I didn't swear. That would be bad. I'm trying not to. All right. So, where's this Q colon instead of Q like Ed? Yes. It did not. Okay. We're going to go to this. So we have H for toggles for printing of errors. Prints an explanation of the last error. Inserts text in the buffer before the current line. J joins the two lines together. This is going to, look, this is going to come, all this is going to come up again. So let's say, like, watch. Let's say we print right here with line 7, yeah? What's the last line? Line 8 is actually line 8. But watch. If I go to line 7, which is actually not line 7. Let's actually delete that line. How do I delete the line? D. Isn't it D? I thought it was D. I thought it was D. I guess not. Oh, it was. It was D. 5. This is line 5. This is line 5. Next. This is the line 5. You can put the N and it shows you what line. Capital N doesn't give anything. Line 5. All right, so let's do the next one plus someplace in line 5. This is actually line 8. So we deleted that other one, yeah? So we did D and it deleted it. It didn't show us anything, but it deleted it. J, but let's join the line. So I want to join 5 in this other line together. So let's go back a line. I do J, and I think it just does whatever plus 1. And now if I push period, I should be, there we go. This is something that is commonplace, blah, blah, blah. So what does J do? Try to sound het rated you. Oh, because het rated. So there you go. You can, like, you know, how do I save this to the file? That's what I'm trying to get. I already know the answer, but I'm going to go find it for you. Marks a line with lowercase. I am not a line person. I don't mark things very much. It's hard to edit line-wise. Yeah. Print the address lines unambiguously invoked from the terminal. Ed pauses at the end of each page until a new line is entered. Did not know that. That's like a listing, yeah? Moves lines in the buffer, and prints the address line along with their line numbers. So we were doing. Prints the address lines if invoked from terminal. Ed pauses at the end of each page until the new line is entered. Oh, so that's what we've been doing. Toggles the command prompt on and off. I did not know that. Quits Ed Q. So Q is 1, right? Q quits it, but we want to save it, right? We don't want to just quit. We want to save. R reads the file in at the current post, which is also in VI. These commands are all going to come back in VI. R command that will read the output of a command. This is really powerful. This is where the filter command comes in, and that means you can write any program rather than writing a plugin or something. You can just write a program, and it will read the input and put it at that spot in the file. We have S for replacing things. Which you do all the time. So let's actually use S. S is so powerful. So we can go, so if you want to replace everything in the file, this is a command you'll actually do in VI a lot. You can say %, which means everything in the file. You can say, I want to replace all the is with is, right? And you don't have to put a trailing slash. That's good enough usually. And now, oh, it just did the first one though. That's interesting. All right, I guess I did need the G on there because there's more than one on a line. I can't push up. I'm doing my VI. I'm doing my VI stuff. Is/is/. G, that means everything in the line. So that will do all of them. And then P, yeah, let's go 1, and do plus 3, 6. Yeah, they're all changed up, Brad. You're going to do that S command all the time because it's a global find and replace for the whole file. And so I wanted to practice that one. That's actually straight up the same thing in VI that people do all the time. And we're going to look down here. What do we got? Another S, repeat the last substitution. I don't think I knew that it could be repeated. T, copies and address lines to the right after destination. Never used it. It sounds really cool, though. Undoes the last command and restores the current address to what it was before. Oh, boy. Let's try that since I kind of screwed up. Let's do U and U. U and U and U again. How many U's do I have to do? Apparently that's not enough. Is there a big U? Did I save it? Oh, wait, it did it. It only does one, though. It only does one. It did this one. You only get one undo. unlike Vim, where you have like infinite undos. And yeah, not infinite, but you know. You get one undo in Ed. I did not know. Today I learned you get one undo in Ed. I did not know this. I didn't know you got any undos. I didn't think it was such a thing. So that's cool. Applies command list, RE file, right to the file. Okay, so this is the one people have been asking about. I want to change my file. W will just write it. That will write it. It doesn't say anything because I have my debugging off. In fact, I should probably turn it back on. So let's do that. I want to turn my S off because I want to see what it's doing. P, line 10. 1. All right. So what if I do this P? Oh, hey, look, there's my whole line, my whole file. This is line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is someplace, blah, blah, blah. And the lines are all screwed up, but who cares? So interactively edits address lines not matching the regular expression. What? Never heard of that before. Never going to use it, but I'm never going to use you up. Writes the address lines to file, W. W is a thing, and you're going to do it all the time. In fact, I think you can do it. I mean, let's try this. Let's try to change the capital is back to is, right? All right, let's see. Did we survive? Did we survive that? Yes, we did. What if we do N? Oh, look, I can see all my lines. Ooh, pretty. Apparently, hey, there's the dot. That means I'm on this line or something. Wait, what? Okay, I'm only 10. All right, 6. Oh, that's just a line continuation because it wrapped. Okay. Can I save it and quit at the same time? W and Q. What if I do them together? It turns out you can. WQ, what does it do? It writes it to a file, right? So then I go back here. Let's do another change here. We've got all this stuff here, yeah? Let's go to line 6 and get rid of it because it's ugly. So 6, delete, dot. What do we got? Okay, there is no line 6 anymore. Can we go to line 5 and insert a line 6? Yes, let's append. This is line 6, period. And then let's go look. Hey, we made a line 6. It worked. All right, so again, doesn't take very much to do this, but you know, it's okay. We still need to write it though. But what if we don't want to write it? What if we want to get it back? Right? Q exclamation point. You see how I did it with the colon? Because I do. This is the most. I'm telling you, this is the most save your butt thing that you'll do in Vim. You're gonna do some massive thing to your file while you're editing it, and you've learned the hard way not to save things all the time automatically. And because you're like, oh my gosh, that is not the search I want. That is not the change I wanted to do. And so you have two ways to undo all the changes to a file. The first one is :Q exclamation point. And you go to the file, and it doesn't save the file, and you're good to go. If you save it on accident, then what? You delete the file and you get check out the file and you have your last edited version. Those are two things I promise you will save you someday when you screw up, because you are going to screw up, and those are two really great fail safes to have. That's one of the reasons I do frequent commits. Even though I don't push the commits necessarily, I do frequent commits so that I have the last good version of a file. And then you can have a whole bunch of commits queued up and tag them all together and squash them if you want. These are all, we haven't learned about Git yet, but that's a thing that people do. All right, so what else we got? We're gonna go down here. We got W, we got WQ, and you're gonna see WQ a lot when we get into VI. W writes it. You can actually, something that people don't do very often, but you can write a specific range of lines from the command line to a separate file. So if you know where those are, you can do that. I do that all the time using search criteria. So I'll do a search to find to make sure that the next hit is going to be a thing, and I'll write all the lines up to that search to a separate file, and then I've got a new file to play with. So these are all things that are very useful. Hey, ascertainment. X copies the contents of the cut buffer after the address line. The current address is set to the last line copied. I don't use these things. Yank I do use a lot though. All right, so Y is copy. Let's do yank. Let's do this one. This is a big one. All right, so what line are we on? We are line 10. Let's go out to line 6 again, and let's yank this line. So yank, right? Now, if I just push P, it'll print it. I don't know how to paste in ed. This is going to be interesting. The current address is set to the last line copied. Oh, wait a second. Hold up a minute. Copies, puts the contents of the cut buffer to after the address line. Interesting. The current address sits the last line copied. This X is actually P in VI. I just learned that. So right now I am on line 6, right? And if I go to line 7, you'll see it's line 7. If I go back to 6, watch, I'm going to do X, and that should paste to that thing. And now let's print the whole thing. You see I have 2 line 6s. This is interesting. This is one area where VI departed from ed, because X, the X key in command mode has very specific meaning. It means delete the current character. And when you yank, use yank to yank like that. But when you yank, you in order to add that line after the current line, you push P. But we've been using, but P in ed stands for print. So you can tell that the P and the X have alternate functionality in VI from ed, which is super interesting to me because I've been doing it for so long. But scrolls n lines at a time, starting at the address line. And then you have this. Okay, so the exclamation point. This is a thing, we've already talked about this before. What the exclamation point, when it's ever in front of a command, what it does is it runs that command in a subshell. And it replaces the current line with the output. This is going to be the focus of a good long, hour-long conversation that we're going to have a little bit later. We're almost done with that, and then we'll take a break. Then we'll come back. So let's do this. Let's say, let's print out what we got here. So we're on line 10. We're on line 11 right now. Let's go up to line 6 again. All right, so we're on line 6. Oh, no, we're not. Now we are. All right, we're on line 6. Now, I want to replace, it says execute the command via the shell. If the first character of the command is an exclamation point, then it is replaced by text of the previous command. Sound familiar? Everybody who's ever told me to do this before, why? There's the origin of it. Okay, so this is kind of fun for some of the old timers here who might know what that is. So we're going to do this. We're going to say we're on line 6, If the first command character of the command is an exclamation point, then it is replaced by the text of the previous command. Ed does not process commands for backslash escapes. However, an unescaped percent is replaced by the default file name. I don't think I knew that. From the execution, it is printed as the standard input. The current line is unchanged. When the shell is executed, is printed to the standard output. The current line. Okay, so if you're a hacker, this is telling you that you can get a subshell from Ed. That's the takeaway from this. All right. You know, a lot of times people will they'll be stupid and they'll say, oh, I'm going to let, users on the system and then run with extra privileges, but we'll make sure they can only run Ed and there's nothing they can do with Ed. Well, they actually can. See, I just ran those commands from the Ed editor, right? Did it change my script, my code? No. Right? That's another thing. That's called a filter command. But what I'm trying to say is CXV came from Apple in 1983, did they? Well, yeah, I mean, don't ever do a Control-C though, by the way. It's horrible. Control-C has always been interrupt and it always will be interrupt. So I want you to see this. I was able to run a program, any program, and have it spit out the output without putting it in my file. So how is that an attack vector? Well, if someone's given you Ed access to the system and they've tried to block you from running a shell, you've got a shell. Okay. So that's actually one of the tricks, and there's a track me walks about that, and then there's a over the wire hack about that as well. So there. Now, if we wanted to replace the current position with that output, I think we can do that, but I don't know. Let's try it. If we did X doesn't replace the current thing, yeah? So let's do this. Nope, didn't work. How can we do it? Can we replace the current line? Wants to be a hacker, but wants to learn the basics. I know. They don't want to learn how to get certified and stuff. They all want to be hackers. And they're just young. Did you see that Twitter thing going around? HR, what do you want to be in 5 years? And the young person's shows the thought bubble with them, all, Neo Matrix hoodie and everything. And then it shows the senior programmer in HR sipping his coffee. He's bald. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5 years? And he's got a piece of hay straw coming out of his mouth. He doesn't want anything to do with technology. I told that already, but I cannot. I love that a lot. I really relate to that, because I was that guy when I was young. I was hungry. I wanted to learn everything about tech, and the more I learned about tech, the more I'm like, actually, I would much rather be outside on the sunset. Does tech get me there faster? Because if so, I'm all on board. If not, new line. Print the address. The new line. So this hour has been brought to you by Ed. We'll get into this exclamation point runs a shell thing a little bit more when we get into VI. But I definitely wanted to cover that. All right. So that's all we're going to do with Ed. You can say, Ed now. And now when someone gives you crap about it, when somebody gets in culturally, when people get into an Emacs versus Vim versus NeoVim versus VS Code fight, you can say, well, Ed's the Unix editor. And they're like, oh yeah, do you know it? I say, yes. Do you use it? No. Could you use it? Yes. Yeah. We just got educated. I'm giving you points for that. This is why I stream. This is why I stream, for the most amazing jokes ever from my community. We need a break. Can we take a break now? I mean, that Ed is just I'm sweating now. Palms intended. Oh, I love my community. I love y'all. Y'all are so funny. I never belly laughed like this before Twitch, because nobody got my jokes. Nobody they didn't get my jokes. All right, we're gonna take a break for 5 minutes. Do I have term down? I think I can install term down. Should I install a snap on here? I feel so dirty. I feel so dirty installing a snap, but I don't care. It's fast. Term down. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Man, term down. No manual. Term down. Dash help. Version, time format. Voice. Oh, it has voice? What? Don't show the seconds. I want seconds though. The file size. Where's my color though? I know there's a way to do color. Yes, you can do different figlets and stuff on it. This is the Python one, I think. There's a bunch of term downs. Yeah, I wrote my own, but I don't have it up right now. Find a job. Help me find a job. People have found jobs here. Lots of them. So if you work hard, you can find a job. Show current time instead of blah. Time format. I want... Text to title display kind of storage. Text to display. No. Seconds. No seconds. Quit. Error. Also add 10 seconds. Oh, you can do stuff. Stopwatch mode only. Pause. Minus. We'll subtract 10 seconds. Quit. Okay. Term down. Can we do lolcat? Term down. I don't think so. I tried this. I tried it into lolcat. It does not work. It worked today. Oh my gosh. Term down. 10 minutes. 10 min. 9 minutes, 58 seconds. 56 seconds. How's that? It didn't really work, but it kind of worked. I could use a different Figlet font. What should I use? Should I use what's my banner program? It's Figgle. VSC Figgle. Future. It's Future. I can use first Future. Where's Future? Font. Text title font. Where's my font? Is it F? Okay. I know. I'm spending way too much time on this. F. Future. Dang it. All that Python. Bleh. Oh, I find. We need to take a break. 0 minutes. How about 8 minutes? Oh, wait. We can do minus. Minus 3. Wait, did that work? It's not working. All right, I'm going to take a break. Get up, walk around, everything. When we come back, we're going to do VI, otherwise known as Vim. So that is coming your way in 9 minutes. And if you want to get, ready, we're going to talk about all the ways you can learn Vim, but we're going to do my favorite. It still has a lot of problems. I was unable to find my notes. I looked all through my stuff. I have probably 40 pages of notes on how broken the Vim tutor program is, that I will try to remember as much of as we go through the Vim tutor, but you can, put a mark on a video at that point and we can go through it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and run an ad or two here to help. We will do VI Magic. We already did VI Magic, but we're going to do much more than that. VI Magic is the VI Magic stuff comes after we do the Vim tutorial, then we'll do the Vim Magic. They don't cover any of the VI Magic in the Vim tutorial, which is why nobody learns it. So we are definitely going to cover VI Magic. Yes. And that will naturally lead us into the next fun thing, which I don't know if we're going to be able to do today. We've only got an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours today. But if not today, this week, then definitely next week. we will be doing bash scripting. We'll probably start with bash scripting next week. And, again, I'm assuming that you're using the handy dandy virtual machine here that's already been configured for you so that you don't have to fight with bash RC and all that. We will talk about vimRC today, and we'll talk about bash RC when we do scripting later. We talked about tmux RC a little bit. We did tmux really quickly. Last week we did kind of a whirlwind coverage of tmux and all this other stuff. But we have to do VI first, then we have to do bash next, and then we'll do tmux, a full thing of tmux, so that you can use all your bash and VI skills with your tmux. And that combo is very, very powerful. And then, you're searching, command line editing, searches and stuff like that. All right, I'm going to stand up. I'm probably going to make a little coffee here. It's not like I need it, but step up. I'm going to turn the 80s music back on. Enjoy. the end. Welcome back. All right. Oh my gosh, that's fun. You gotta love it. I had to make. It took me a little bit longer because I had to make extra coffee for my wife. Almost said woman. I guess it's the same thing. Also, I love the bathroom open. Alrighty, so we're gonna dive into VI. We're gonna do the Vim tutor. We're gonna talk about VI, what it's about, and all the different ways you can learn it. Look at that sub. Thank you for that. We call it making coffee. What did I say? Brewing coffee? Oh, I actually did brew coffee and the other thing. So again, if you're just joining us, you're like, who the heck is this and why are we doing this? We are doing the beginner boost, which helps beginners get into technology, get tech careers and hacking and operations, primarily if you want to do development as well. And this is week 7. This year's boost, we've done them the last 3 years, but this year's boost has been, let's do it together and struggle through it. And hopefully you got something there. As a reminder, if you go to rwxrob/boost on github.com, you will see these notes and everything. And it's also on YouTube. I do publish these things to YouTube. So that's a recap. This week is all about getting text into the file and changing it once it's there. And that means using ed, vi, vim, etc. And we talked about ed already. And we've concluded that we got a little exposure to ed. And so we're going to move on now and talk about the editor that everybody loves to hate on and make fun of and change. And that editor is called Vim. Now, to be fair, I'm going to throw one of my favorite streamers under the bus a little bit here, and etc. All right, so we just got done with Ed, right? So, and then an editor came out called X, which is apparently still here. Oh, did you see that? Man X. If you want to read about X, guess what page you get? You get Vim instead. Did you know you can run X as Vim? All right, so we already covered Ed. We talked about what it was and where it came from. It was one of the first editors. It came from QED, I guess, originally. Somebody reminded us, and then it became the first editor on Unix. But it was a pain in the butt because it was line-based, and we just spent an hour suffering through that. But we did that with a reason, because along came, the smart people that said, hey, we need to make a visual mode of this. And so they created a visual mode for X, which at that point was Ed. And that's VI. And it wasn't Vim. It wasn't Vim. All right, so what I want to see if you have on your system right now is a program called NVI. And this, do not confuse this with NeoVim. We're not going to talk about NeoVim yet. We will talk about it, I promise. Why are you using Neo? We will get there, I swear. Okay, we got until 5 today, which is how long? We got several minutes left. So everybody go do this. Sudo apt install NVI. All right. You should have a VM. If you don't, go get it. Before we go into Vim, we're going to use VI. And there's a reason for this. There's a very specific reason. First of all of these things that we're doing, I call it progressive learning. You learn the basics, and then you learn a thing on top of that, and you learn a thing on top of that, and on top of that, and on top of that. If you want to use NeoVim, I put it at the top, and write all the things in Lua. If you are that person, you want to do Emacs, that's fine. But you need to understand these basics and how to get there. That's why we did Ed once a year to remember, to remind us of our roots. That is what's about, and that's where it comes from. And there's a lot of advantage to that, and we're going to get to this when we get to filters and VI Magic, which somebody was asking about earlier. All right, so what do we have here? We have this program on here, and it's not Vim, right? We have Vim, right? We have another program on here. It's called NVI. What the heck is that about? All right. Well, I want to show you what this is. NVI. So NVI is the standard editor on BSD Unix. Anybody ever here play with BSD? Raise your hand if you've ever played with BSD Unix at all. And again, I'm preparing you for Unix-ish Linux things, not just for Linux, okay? Because I hate to break it to you, but there are still millions, if not billions, of systems out there that are running Unix that need administrators and people. And by the way, the people that are administrating those systems are making bank, way more bank than anybody in Silicon Valley, but they won't talk about it. pfSense is BSD. So, and pfSense is an open source hack operating system you can put on your routers and stuff. So there's a reason to learn Unix, not necessarily just Linux. BSD drivers, yes, there's tons of stuff. Okay, but if you land on one of these machines, and you're like, this got VI. Oh, okay, I'm gonna use that. Maybe the worst mistake beginners make this all the time. Why don't you use Vim? People ask me that all the time. Why don't you use Vim? And I type VI for everything. I'm like, because Vim is VI, and I use VI. My fingers have memorized VI. Yeah, but why don't you use Vim? And because if you get on one of these pfSense machines, or you're on any of these things, they don't have Vim. Does anybody know what does Vim stand for? What does the M in Vim stand for? We haven't got there yet, but what does it stand for? What is Vim? I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I don't care. Improved. Vim is improved VI. It's improved VI. So don't you think it stands to reason that you might want to learn why it was improved and how it was improved? Because guess what? You're going to be on systems that only have VI. I promise you. I promise you. If you're going to be in operations and hacking and security, if you're using a Mac right now, you have VI. You don't have Vim. You can get Vim, but you learn VI first. All right. Now, this kind of reiterates the point I was just making, that VI is X. They are the same binary. That's just not. They are the same binary. X is ed, essentially, line editor, right? VI is the visual mode of X. Any of our veterans out there ever get stuck in line editing mode in VI on accident? Couldn't get this. Raise your hand if you've ever been in VI. This is. I'm just pandering to the veterans out there. Raise your hand if you've ever been in VI or Vim, and all of a sudden you're stuck in X line edit mode, and you're like, "Oh my god!" Do you know how to get out of that? By the way, has anybody ever done that? I've done it so many times, like I've lost count. So the way to get out of that, by the way, is you type VI : VI, and it'll put you into visual mode of X again. So yeah, everybody just quits. Yeah, but you can type visual, you can type VI. Everybody just exits and like, oh, I don't know how I did it, but that's actually how you get it back. Yeah, pull out the power. Exactly. Okay, so we're gonna learn VI first, or as Zorchenheimer loves to call it, one of my favorite streamers of all time. I fell off my chair laughing. Not at him, but at the situation. He's an amazing, brilliant guy. You guys know Zorchenheimer. If I'm going to tell a story about him, I'm definitely going to shout him out, because Zorchenheimer. I haven't watched him in a long time. Oh, and I get his name wrong? Shoot. He's got one of those hard names. But he was telling. I'm going to tell you a story. Okay, so he was telling a story about how there'd been a bunch of old boomers had left him in charge of Unix, AIX and stuff, and he was like lamenting on stream that he had to learn this thing called V. Yeah, does anybody know V? Because it's not the same as Vim, and I was falling off my chair. It was so funny, because he was all of a sudden hitting all of these problems that he had learned in Vim that were not supported in VI. Beginning with the name of not knowing how to call it, it was called VI. And he was laughing about it too. He was loving it. And Zorchenheimer, thank you. Yes, and let's do an SO. Let's do an SO on him. I love Zorchenheimer. He's a brilliant dude. He's doing amazing things. Who got thrown into AIX administration, which is Unix, a very horrible flavor of Unix, by the way. I'm trying to shout him out, and my computer's not cooperating with me. So anyway. So Zorchenheimer, if you're out there, we love you. I am not poking fun at all. I'm just using you as a. Oh, he's playing Elden Ring. Yeah, I saw him playing Elden Ring last time. So anyway, so learn VI first. That's the short answer. So for the next hour, we're going to learn VI. You can actually learn all the commands in VI pretty quickly because it's VI. It's not Vim. And then when you do the Vim tutor, by the way, this is another big problem. So the Vim tutorial, which we're going to do later after that, the Vim tutorial doesn't teach you the VI stuff. And it doesn't tell you when it teaches you something that's a Vimism. That's a word I use all the time. I don't know if it's a word, but a Vimism. And I actually use install NVI. And so to our veterans out there too, if you really want to check yourself and see how many Vimisms have snuck into your muscle memory, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many things that you thought were supported in VI are actually only Vimisms. And so this is even if you don't decide to do this is a really great way to do this. So we're gonna start with VI, which in this case we have to install something called NVI, not to be confused with NeoVim, which is the BSD version. This is the standard VI editor that's released on BSD. And we're gonna I love how they describe it. It says error for error as a line-oriented. X is a line-oriented text editor. X and VI are different interfaces to the same program, and it's possible to switch back and forth between them. The manual page is provided with next VI and version. There it goes. I love it. Did you see that right there? Where was it? This is my favorite part. Here it is. NVI, NX, and NVI are intended as bug-for-bug compatible replacements for the original 4th Berkeley software distribution of X and VI. So these are deliberately designed to model the VI that you might encounter that's like on systems that are more than 20 years old. Why would you care? Because you might be put in charge of maintaining those systems, and the jobs to maintain those systems are not to be sneezed at. These are not, dude, there are so many jobs out there that pay really good money that are not in Silicon Valley. And they're usually, for big enterprises, stuff like that, and governments and big industries, telecom, banking, transportation, whatever, there's tons and tons of companies that have, lots of money to pay people, great benefits and everything, that are not advertising all the time, that are very unsexy compared to the way that Silicon Valley is portrayed. Although people are saying that Silicon Valley was just a really, really, really bad one-night stand. Now that everybody's going downhill because they're all the pomp and flash is dying in Silicon Valley, which just brings me great joy because people are starting to see it for what it is. It's a bunch of pumped up nothing like everything. Why is this important? So learning VI and learning some of these other Unix style systems will actually make you a more employable, more sustainable, more powerful hacker, systems administrator, engineer, SRE, whatever you want to call yourself. Okay, so let's do NVI. Let's start with this. There's no tutorial for NVI, so we're just going to have to start. And I'm just going to give you a really fast overview of it, and then we can go from there. Okay. Cut the duct tape and you'll live a little bit longer. Yes, exactly. So we're going to do NVI foo, right? So here's this foo thing we've been doing. So when you notice I put the program after that, right? We talked about ed and x. So the difference right away that you see from ed/x, largely the same thing, is that you can see the lines. You don't have to do, P or N all the time. You can see the lines. So you're like going up and down in the line. You can't see the line numbers, which is annoying. You can actually fix that. And let's do that. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so right now you can't see the line numbers, right? I think you can do set tab. There's like, it's hard because there's like a lot of things you might not know. I don't even think there's help. Yeah. To see a list of VI commands, VI usage, to see a list of X commands, do that. All right. So let's do that. We'll do colon VI usage, search forward for a word. As it said, I know, shh, Jerry. No, it's fine. Yeah, I was just showing you how you go find it, right? So if you get lost in here, this is where you can go, my friends. My friends, if you get lost in here, don't go search high and low on the internet, or you might want to print a cheat sheet out. But all you really need to do is type question mark or type colon H, and it will show you what you can do. So you can type colon VI usage and enter. It will show you the things so you can go remember. Okay, it's better that you get used to looking up the answers on the system you're on than depending on the internet, because a lot of times you won't have internet, particularly if you're hacking or something. And this exists in whatever you use, right? So you can see there's a bunch of commands here, and we're going to start going into some of those commands. But using NVI, I wanted to just demonstrate to you the difference between command mode and non-command mode. I want you to also see that, we're going to talk about command mode and non-command mode and the X command, etc., etc. Colon is as if you're entering the X command. So let's take some commands. Let's do some of the commands that we already know. Let's see if we can do D. What does that do? Let's do D. Hey, look at that. It deleted it. Did you see that? By the way, what is undo, everybody? Undo, right? Colon U, back and forth, undo, yeah? Those commands from Ed that we went through in the last hour are all there. They're all there. What was the command for replacing? Let's do those commands first, okay? What was the command for replacing all the is's with is? You guys remember? So we just type colon, and then we type s/. Now this will only do it on this line, right? Let's do it on all the lines. So we do the percent. We already learned this with Ed. So we can do S, and we can say, I want to change anything with a space is space into a space, capital is space. And if it happens more than one time on a line, let's make sure we get it. So we put a G at the end. We rushed through this with our Ed that we went through, but this is exactly the same Ed command. And I put enter on that, and boom, it happens in real time. Now do you see why we did Ed first? Because the great power of Vim and VI is the Ed stuff. And they say that the better you are at using Vim, the more time you will spend using command mode, which is this mode we're in right now, where J, K, H, and L move you around. So let's talk about navigation for a bit, right? If you're in a file that already exists, I'm using J, K, and H, and L. So unlike survive mode, and if you've never used VI before and you just want to succeed with stuff, go do the VI survive. We covered this last week. So I consider there to be multiple levels of proficiency with VI. The very first level of proficiency is being able to survive in VI and use it instead of nano, using the arrow keys, which do work. Okay. Actually, do they work? Yeah. The arrow keys, for a long time, I didn't think the arrow keys worked in VI. I thought it was only Vim, but they actually do work in actual VI. So if you want to use arrow keys, that's fine. All right. So you can move around with the arrow keys, but that's kind of lame because you have to move your hand all the way over to the left, to the right there. So instead, we're going to use J, K, and go up and down. And we're going to do H to go over here and L over here. I don't have any keyboard highlighting right now, but you see my point. So we can move all around. In command mode, we can move all over. And there's tons of other ways to get around in the file, which we'll get into in the tutorial. There's W, which goes to the next word. There's E, which goes to the end of the current word. There's slashes, which is my favorite, which takes you to the next line, and then you just push N and keep continuing till all the ends. Notice how things are not highlighting or anything because we're in NVI instead of Vim. Vim can be nice, pretty colors. So if I want to go to line 8, guess what? Same exact thing as Ed. Remember that command that we learned in Ed? /8 takes you to the next 8. Push N again, takes you to the next 8. All right. This has been brought to you by, Ed, the foundation. The foundation for VI is Ed. So that's how I'm trying to communicate here. It's the same thing. But there's other cool things that don't exist in Ed. For example, does anybody know? Okay, this is a message from my older people. How do I take a capital letter and turn it into a lowercase ASCII character? It's only ASCII. This only works for ASCII. Anybody know? And I'm kind of having fun with the people who've been around the block a while. Some of them might not know this. They might not know this. It's called case folding. I'm not acquainted with that one. I'm not acquainted with that one either. Tilde is the one I was looking for. Oh, what's GW? What the hell is that? Holy cow. How did you do that? What the heck is that? What's GU? Oh, it's a big undo. It's a global undo. I had no idea. Today I learned. No upward over the range. Interesting. Did not know that. Okay, well, that's the thing about this. You're always going to learn something new. That's not what I was looking for. I was looking for this. Okay, so tilde will fold the case. If you push period again, it'll do it over. It'll repeat the last thing, whatever it was. Right? G commands are OP. I need to learn my G commands. I need to learn my G commands better. I've been doing this for how many years? I still have tons to learn. And the thing is so cool about that is that that's standard VI and that's not even Vim. I don't know why I don't know it. Because I didn't learn it. No one told me about it until today. So this is the thing. You just kind of got to accept with Linux and Unix. There's always more to learn. You're going to be learning stuff until you're dead. My goal with the boost is to help you learn as many of these things and help other people help me remember many of these things before I pass on. Oh my gosh. I always just search G sharp. I don't even want to know. What is it? G isn't a VI command. What? Uh-oh. That's a Vimism. Vimism detected. I mean, that's fine. You know what my favorite Vimism that is? That I can't use in VI? It drives me nuts. I can't do bang bang. I can't do it. Yeah. Oh, maybe I can. What? It wasn't supported last time I did it. They fixed it. It jumps to the next instance of word under cursor, maybe Vim thing. Oh, I just searched for it. Yeah, I'm just using this guy. I'm this guy who just does N. But I search for everything. The most important thing that I do in all of VI is search. GG don't work on VI. Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. G doesn't work. G doesn't work. See, Cherry, I see. It was fun. It's kind of fun to realize the Vimisms that have snuck into your workflow, to your fingers. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You usually got Vim around, but sometimes you don't. And then you're like, what? I can't use GG. So you can't do any certain combinations that do changes and deletes. And you'll hit them. And I don't want to get too deep into it right now because we're going to go do Vim first. So we're going to do the tutorial, and then you'll see all those things. But it's kind of fun. All right. So that's all I really want to say about NVI, is that this is where you can do those things. So there are some commands that are for configuration. So you can type set. I wonder if there's a help for that. No help. Set all gives all the option values. Okay. Set all. Oh my goodness. Paragraphs, sections, no comment. And by the way, this is another great way to know what is a VI setting and what is a Vim setting. Because AQ macro, because the Vim settings are, crazy. There's like thousands and thousands of them. But these ones, all of these ones, are based on they're based on just VI. All right. So one of the ones that's important is this one. So set NU. That will give you your line numbers, and you'll notice it doesn't give you much more than that. You might want to turn your ruler on. That'll tell you what line you're on, and that's about it. And this is why people reach for NeoVim and things like it, because it gives you much more powerful visualization of what you're doing, and has completion, all kinds of things that people like. And that's fine if you want to use it, but my point is that you should definitely learn how to be productive without it first. And then when you're forced to use it and you don't have your GG, which anybody know, tell them what GG does, Cherry. GG, here, watch. We'll edit the same file using Vim. If I do Vim over here, and now I go in the middle here, right? And I do GG, it takes me to the first line. It takes me to the first line, yeah? So GG is a Vimism. It's not a VI thing. I mean, but you get colors, you get much better stuff here because Vim. High, mid, low. Yes, you can do that. Yes. Go to the beginning of the file. Yep. And so how would you do that, by the way? If in NVI, let's put that out there for people. How do you go? Okay, knowing what we know about ed now, how do you go to the first line? How do we go to the first line of a file using ed? Do you remember how if you put a line number in ed, it takes you to that line number? Yep. There you go. Colon 0, colon 1, colon percent should take it to the end. And those commands are all the same commands we just did in ed, right? And stuff. So I just want to keep reiterating that VI is ed in visual mode. So it's just easier to see stuff. And that's why it was made. XX. Ooh, I didn't know about that one. Uh-oh. Not supported. Oh, jump to the NN line. Oh, right. So you're talking about like 4, line 4, right? Set NU is going to give us that. If I don't remember all my stuff, I can just do set number, press to see more, to enter more X commands. Set list, set all. Shift G to go to the last line. Yeah. Shift G goes to the last line. What else goes to the last line? Shift G is always the last line thing. And if it's at the beginning of the last line, yeah. So, basically this stuff is all informed by ed and X. And I think it's probably time for us to move on from that. Does anybody have anything else to say about the relationship between Vim or VI and X? By the way, if I want to have those line numbers appear every time, what do I do? I create a file in my home directory. That's hidden. That's why it has a dot. There's no visual mode in VI. No, it is visual mode. It's visual mode, yeah. That's what we're in. Not VimRC. The famous XRC. Not VIRC, XRC. I remember like trying to configure thing and having somebody tell me to use and put in my XRC file. I'm like, XRC is VI. What the hell? The reason is because it's the same thing. Watch. You don't believe me? Look, man X. Oh, Vim, man, actually, NVI. Right? Man NEX. All right, so let's try this. File which NEX. File which NVI. Exactly the same file. Same build number and everything. It's exactly the same file. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a hard link. Let's go see. It is. See that? Hard link. Anybody know what a hard link is? We talked about this years ago, or it feels like it was more than a month ago. What's a hard link? What is a hard link? What is a hard link? Yep. All right, so you see here, you see this 3 right here? A hard link is a duplicate inode. Yep. Same inode. It's a reference to the same exact inode. And this is different than a symbolic link. We talked about this months ago, but a symbolic link is an indirection to another file. It's a symbolic link is an inode, and the other file is an inode, and the symbolic link is a file pointing to the other one. In the case of a hard link, and we'd have some fun with this. We're going to get back to this a lot. In the case of a hard link, what we have is and this here's a word. Here's a $5 word. We have a multi-call binary. A multi-call binary is a binary that behaves, a binary program that, when compiled and run, does something different depending on its name. So this is exactly the same file, the same binary file. It is literally the same ones and zeros on disk, but it has 2 different inode entries that point to the same inode. And this number right here, this is one of the numbers that people have been, I mean, if you've been doing to the original file, if you remove the hard link, the file is still there. Absolutely. Yep. It doesn't go away. Yeah. If you delete a hard link, the file stays there. You have to delete. That's why the number is here. The reason that they put the number for the hard link here is so that you know that there's still something else pointing to that file. So when you go to list the file, they're like, oh my heck, there's 3 hard links to this thing, and I have no idea where the other ones are. Emacs is a multi-call binary and eventually may give way to a root share. Yes. But if you want to see probably the most famous example of a multi-call binary, the entire BusyBox operating system, which is the basis for Alpine Linux, is a single multi-call binary. And I'm going to show you. It's kind of cool, but we're kind of side noting on here, but this is kind of fun stuff. So we do run.it. Let's do Alpine. Alpine. Go lang tools. Yes. Shh. They won't use it if you tell them that. I forgot how to run Docker stuff. CQ macro. Am I not in the? All right, fine. I don't think I'm in the Docker permission. I'm not. Boost is though. All right, so here we go. Docker run it Alpine. So Alpine is another version of Unix, another version of Linux. It doesn't have any GPLv3 in it. So I'm not gonna. We're gonna cover Bonsai when we get to our Go stuff if we ever get there. I have not been doing any. I personally am not in a Docker group. I added Boost, but not myself. So here we go. So let's do which ls, yeah? All right, ls-l which ls. Now we haven't done backticks yet, but that just replaces it. Oh, hey, look at that. It's pointing to the same file. Why would it point to BusyBox? That's weird. What if we point to VI? What? How can VI and ls both be symbolic links that point to the same file? Also, why did they use symbolic links instead of hard links? Anybody know? Why did they use symbolic links versus hard links? This is a fun fact. Fun fact, Alpine and BusyBox, one of the core differences between the two is that, and I'm going to prove it right now. So you run a BusyBox container. BusyBox is another version. We're going to run BusyBox, but in this case, this is a different distro, right? We're using BusyBox instead of Alpine, even though they both use BusyBox. But watch this. If you do ls-l which ls, see anything fun about that? Isn't that fun? And that's why they use symbolic links in Alpine. Anybody want to fill in the blanks there? While I drink my coffee. What's the difference? What's the difference between Alpine and BusyBox? Primary difference between the two. Upgrading the BusyBox binary. Oh, yes, this is a problem. All right, so why is this one, everybody? Throw your best answers out. Throw your... I might have to. They're referring to last year's boost when it randomly gave me a container named Sweet Beaver, and we had fun with that. All right, that's why I can't go there right now. All right, so here we go. We have a 1 here. We have a 401 here. What the heck? They both seem to be the same thing. Hey, Vanessa, how are you? Oh, that got a sub out of you? This got a sub out of you? Wow, I'm impressed. I feel good. I did something that impressed him. Or not, I don't know. So here we have a 401, right? And here we have a 1. What's the difference? And why? Why? This is kind of a question for the veterans. I know this is supposed to be a beginner boost, but I do like to have fun with the people who have been around a while. And I love this question. Why did the Alpine distro decide to use symbolic links and the BusyBox distro decided to use not symbolic links? And what are they, by the way? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Tim, that I don't know. I don't have proof of this, but I'm pretty sure that they did this because of inode hard link limitations. And if you'll notice, they have exactly 401. So I think what happened was that there actually might be a resource limit of 400 max inodes using hard links. I think there is a limit on hard links. I don't know. We looked it up and somebody said no, there's not. But I don't know. I think that might have been the original reason. But either way, it's the same multicol binary. In both cases, it's the same binary. If you don't believe me, you see these 401 links here? If you don't believe me, look at the exact file size. It's exactly the same file size. It's not just a copy of the file, it's the same file. And you can see that. So back to VI. I mean, but that was a fun tangent. But I wanted to show that. What got us on that? Oh, because NVI and X. That's right. So yeah. You know, X and VI are the same program, and they are a multicol binary. So you run it as X. And so let's go back to our line numbers. That's what we were trying to do. ls-i to make sure. I haven't done that in a long time, LBG, but that's a great tip. Thank you for that. That I had not used that. I don't use it that much, but that, if you're hacking, that's probably something to do. All right, so we're gonna create a new file using VI, which in this case is going to be Vim. But let's just, for the sake of consistency, let's use NVI. Yeah. And remember that command that I typed, set number, set nu. I mean, I don't remember what it does, but we can do it. Now when I open it up, hey, look, I have a line number, right? Let's add another one. Let's do set ru for ruler. Meta devices. Alpine uses big binary for L2. Yep, they both do. They're both. Alpine uses busybox. Multicol binary. And these people are giving me a hard time about Bonsai. So I don't do shell scripts anymore for my dot files. I'm moving away from them, and I'm using a single multicol Go binary that contains all of the commands that I ever want in kind of a monolithic way, which is sort of against Unix philosophy, which we'll talk about later. But it gives me everything I want in one thing. And then you can actually just rename it, and it'll do multicol binary. So if you name it something different, it'll be BVI. If you want it to be VI, it'll be whatever. You just change the name to VI, and it detects the name and does the right thing. And that's what busybox does. So I think the era of multicol binaries is upon us, and it actually might replace containerization for a lot of things. Oh boy, did I have a quote? So there we go. We got NVI, yeah, XRC. So if you want something to be picked up by VI, or for NVI, which is the BSD version of VI, you're gonna do XRC. There's no vimrc. Okay, thanks for that, Paul. And that is the thing. That's the thing. That's all we're gonna talk about that. Okay. I'm gonna go pour a little bit of coffee, and we're gonna dive headlong into learning Vim. Sorry, we're gonna learn Vim, but we're gonna learn it and we're going to go through the Vim tutorial, but as we go through the Vim tutorial, we're going to do something different. We're going to split our pane, and we're going to do the command in NVI, and then we're going to do the command in Vim, so that you can see the difference. And this is not something anybody else is ever going to tell you. We need to put that in our quotes. Yeah. I'm going to add quote for that. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump right into Vim. Will there be sunset today's stream? What time is it? We may or may not be doing sunset, because I'm going to be going and covering. Yes, there'll be something going on IRL Spinlog. Yeah, every Sunday we do this. This is the tech stuff. But I will definitely be doing that. I've got my paddleboard all set up too. We're going to be doing more IRL streaming. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then when we come back, we're going to jump right into the Vim tutorial, and you can follow along with me, and we can go through and do the whole thing together. And you can work through it, and then you can do it like 5 times yourself or whatever this week on your own to get the repetition going on. How we'll learn how to do Unix filters in Go or just Bash. Unix filters are irrespective of the language. So yeah, well, we're going to go through the tutorial first, and then after the tutorial's done, depending on when that is, today or tomorrow or whatever next time, then we'll do all of the stuff that you can do to make VI better. How to extend VI, beginning with scripts and stuff, and that includes filters, Unix filters, because it's not going to make sense until. But in any language you can do that. So all right, so let's do a term down for 5 minutes. Term down for 5 minutes. That's not very pretty. Little cat. How's that? All right, so we'll be back in 5 minutes. So I'm going to go refresh my coffee. I'm going to turn the music on, We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to do the Vim tutorial in an hour. So it's going to take us about an hour, and we'll go through it, and I'm going to tell you the stuff. But we're going to do it differently. As I said, we're going to go through it with an eye for the things that are Vimisms versus that will work in BI, which nobody ever does. A few words I can say. Do. All right, let's do this. We're gonna do Vim tutorial. So, why Vim Tutor? Why not Vim Adventures? Why not, a million things? So the answer is because even though it was done by a bunch of college kids who didn't know anything, look it up. It just blows my mind that the most important training material recommended to everyone was made by a bunch of college kids who never actually learned VI. And Brom accepted it and has rejected any updates to the Vim tutorial ever since. And that's what caused NeoVim to be created, because of Brahms saying, no, I don't want to add that. And then they're saying, fine, we're going to make our own. I mean, in a nutshell, that's why NeoVim exists. I mean, they cite a lot of other reasons, but ultimately that was the main reason. Perhaps maybe a security reason. Maybe a security reason as well. Also very cool. Risk is low. Yeah, Symlinks do have problems in general. So yeah. All right. So we're going to do a thing. If you have the virtual machine, once again, how do you get the virtual machine? RDBX/boost VM. Go download it and run it in VMware Player. We don't use VirtualBox anymore. We went into extreme detail about why last week. It's just a piece of crap, and I will never use it again. So this is why we have this. Is it possible to go on the web and do it? Yes. There's a million resources, not a million, that's hyperbole. There are a lot of resources out there that you can use to learn Vim. But can someone guess why I personally have no love for Vim Adventures, even though I paid for my entire school to use it for a full year? I mean, people love to recommend it, and I'm like, have you actually worked with people before learning it? And then did you assess them afterwards to see if they learned anything? Or do you just like it because it's cool? So in my travels, by doing mentoring, I've had what I call a learning lab, where I've actually been able to monitor in real time, semi-scientifically, what works when teaching people stuff. Yes, Jerry. And hey, Bruno. And as cool as Vim Adventures is, I can tell you from my own objective study that it does not teach people Vim. It teaches them Vim Adventures. There's no cognitive crossover, and it doesn't seem intuitive. I know that feels like it's not how it would be. We think it would like, oh, give you something to grab onto with your brain. It doesn't. So to me, the best way to learn a thing is to use the thing. In fact, to the point where I am now pretty much an active anti-teaching tool person. Whenever, I mean, for example, people go to, just one little rant here. People will go to, a number of sites, FreeCodeCamp, Replit, whatever, and they will go there and they will get an emulation of a terminal. They don't get an actual terminal. They get an emulation of a terminal. And then they have to deal with like their web browser not working, or their shortcuts not being the same, or Control-C being mapped to something entirely different. They're not using the actual tool. And if there's one complaint I have about educators in general, particularly in the tech space, is that they love emulating an environment or something that they're supposed to learn instead of letting people use the actual environment. And to me, that makes zero sense, especially in the age of virtual machines and containerization and stuff like that, where that virtualization abstraction has already been done for you. So you can fire up you can fire up a virtual machine, and you can go on there and break it and not be afraid of hurting anybody or anything, or your own computer even. And so my rant is teach real skills. Help people learn things using the actual things that they would be using. And Vim Adventures, unfortunately, falls into that doesn't really matter kind of category. This is also the reason that when I actually did make a learning tool, I call it SkillBots. And what it would do is it would actually, in a TMUX pane, I'm going to bring this back, by the way, in a TMUX pane, it would sit there and it would monitor your history file and your keystrokes, and it would give you pointers about how you were doing it. But you were using Linux from the command line, and it was just watching you. It's just watching you. It's like, oh, you missed a thing there. Oh, you forgot a thing there. And it's kind of giving you, and it would give you, checks off stuff. And I did, that was like 6 years ago. I finished that. I'm going to bring it all back. The first version I did was proprietary, and because I was super afraid of it getting out in the wrong hands, and I'm going to bring it back in open source probably this Christmas. So I'm going to work on that. So, but my point is that using real things, using containers with the real thing. All right. So that's why I'm not going to do Vim Adventures. And based on that, so it's also the reason that I recommend people use Vim Tutor, right? Vim Tutor is not on your system. It's because you need to sudo apt install Vim, and you probably have Vim Tiny on there instead. Welcome to Vim Tutor 1.7. This hasn't been updated in years. The Unix culture, I think. Well, it is. I mean, ranting is a thing. I don't know. I've been trying to check my ranting lately. You can get the Vim Tutor in a command in a web window if you want to. So we're going to go through it. So why do I like Vim Tutor? So Vim Tutor is bundled with Vim. It's for Vim only. It's not for VI, and we're going to get into what that means. And all it is a file. It's just a file. So you have to read the file, and you go through the whole tutorial is just going through the file and using VI as VI or Vim, and learning it as you go. And so that's why I still recommend people use Vim Tutor, even though it's woefully out of date and it's missing a ton of stuff that just doesn't make any sense. And we're going to go into that right now over the next hour. How much time we got? Yeah, so the next hour, it'll probably take us about an hour to do this based on how long it takes me to talk through things. We're literally going to read every single thing here. There's 7 sections, and we're going to try to go through the whole thing. So Vim is a powerful editor that has many commands, too many to explain in a tutorial such as this. This tutor. I mean, the thing that makes me crazy about this is that they won't even accept fixes for stuff like that. I mean, it's just so cheesy, but it's still the best tool. Other than, editing files, right? This tutorial is designed to describe enough of the commands that you will be able to easily use Vim as an all-purpose editor. The approximate time required to complete this tutorial is 30 minutes. Bull crap. I've taken hundreds of people through this, and it's not 30 minutes, I guarantee you. Depending on how much time you spend with experimentation. Attention. The commands in this lesson will modify the text. Make a copy of this file to practice. If you started Vim Tutor, this is already a copy. So you don't need to make a copy. It is important to remember that this tutorial is set up to teach by use. That means that you need to execute the commands to learn them properly. If you only read the text, you will forget the commands. And I agree with that, even though these people that made it are very junior. Now, make sure that your caps lock key is not depressed and press the J key enough times to move the cursor so that lesson 1.1 completely fills the screen. All right, so we're pushing J. We already talked about this. We're moving, keep going down. We're doing what they say. Moving the cursor. To move the cursor, you have H, you have L, you have K, and you have J. All right. Move the cursor around the screen until you're uncomfortable. Blah, blah, blah. Pretty easy. Using the down key, move to lesson 1.2. And by down key, that means J. Now, it's worth noting here that you can use the arrow keys too if you forget. If you're an absolute junior, if you're teaching young people who are just trying to not use Nano, allow them to use the arrow keys. You can actually disable the arrow keys, and I did that for the first 5 years that I taught, and then I gave up and said, fine, you can use them at first. Use the down key. Note, if you are ever unsure about something you've typed, press escape to place you in normal mode, and they mean escape. That's in the upper left corner. You push escape, right? I want you to see something when I type escape. Do you see the bottom corner? Look down here. You see this right here? What is the representation of escape when you type it? So the first thing I want to teach everybody here is that you don't actually have to type the escape key if you are on a Western keyboard, a non-international keyboard. You can use Control left bracket instead, and it is literally the same exact signal from your keyboard to your computer. It's also much easier to type if you don't want to go all the way up to touch escape. So please note that. We're not going to get into mapping other keys. A lot of people map caps lock, which used to be escape, by the way, back to escape, or some people map it to. That's fine. If you're gonna when you do the mapping, let me just tell you something. Don't get crazy with remapping too early, because why? Can anybody think of a reason that they wouldn't want their vimRC to have a bunch of remapping commands in it? Why did we learn edit in the first place? Why did we learn VI in the first place? And again, I'm coming at this from an operations perspective. I'm not coming at this from a developer's perspective if they're sitting on the same computer they have full control over 24/7. In which case, they use Emacs or whatever. You don't have Emacs. You cannot get, there is not a single Unix certification or Linux certification that you can get with Emacs. Yeah. You say, so what I'm trying to get at is, by learning Control left bracket rather than remapping, you can go to any random computer and do it, or you can hack into any random computer and do it. right? So I'm not saying don't remap anything. I'm saying don't do it until your fingers know how to use escape and control left bracket. In fact, it was on a Twitch stream that I had somebody from Russia tell me that in that person's circle, they actually get American keyboards because of the control left bracket instead of escape. They prefer them for hacking and VI usage. Can you use Dvorak keyboards for this? No. This is not. People ask me all the time, why don't you use Dvorak? It's so much faster. I'm like, yeah, unless you're using VI. So these are all considerations, okay? That all came out of this little mention of the escape key. You know, and then Apple came around like 2 years ago and got rid of the escape key completely. It just shows how stupid they are. They literally got rid of it. They made it a little highlighted thing in their little stupid animated bar, and everybody came unglued on them. They got so mad. You got an American keyboard on your UK computer just for that reason? Interesting. About US keyboards because Brazil ones is hard to press control left bracket. Exactly, Cherry. See, thank you for validating that point and repeating it. So control left bracket is easier than escape, and it works everywhere on any keyboard. Okay, so they don't talk about that here. Now you know. The cursor keys should also work. That's the arrows, I think they mean. All right, exiting Vim. People make jokes about this all the time. Control the full size version of control on a laptop. The control character? I don't know. I mean, I have remapped a control before when the keyboard, when it made sense, didn't make sense. Like when my finger was expecting control to be there, I've done that before. Yeah. Another thing too, if you're going to remap keys, may I suggest that you actually get a keyboard that lets you electronically remap them? Because any system that it's plugged into, you get the same keyboard. So I'm going to say that again. So we live in a wonderful time where everybody's obsessed with keyboards, and you can actually get mechanical, electronic remappings of keys in the keyboard itself. And you can design your keyboard to be however you want, and that you can, as long as you take your keyboard with you. And since COVID especially, everybody agrees you have keyboard will code. You can take your keyboard everywhere. Xmod map, yeah. If you're trying to do any of the operating system based remappings, they're fine until you're not on that computer. But if you do it in a keyboard and you carry your keyboard with you everywhere under your arm, which a lot of people, I mean, come on, people love their keyboards. And most companies will let you bring your own keyboard. So that way you can have all of your mappings the way you want. And if you want to map whatever, and make it 1980s again or 70s or whatever before they remapped escape, you can do that. And that's a glorious thing that we can do now, right? We couldn't do that before. But that's up to you to decide. I'm a control left bracket guy. I actually tried to remap to caps lock for a while, and I kept forgetting to do it to hit it. My muscle memory is so burned into my control left bracket that I just use that for everything. By the way, there are certain Twitch streamers who will tell you to use control C instead of escape. Do not listen. They may have other nice things to say or useful information. That using control C is objectively stupid and moronic and would get certain people canceled. Because it's just so stupid, and you're not going to understand it until you get into what Control C does. Anybody know what Control C actually does? And I'm not talking about Macintosh. What does Control C do in any other context? It sends an interrupt signal. So training people to use Control C as an escape replacement is irresponsible, and that is not an exaggeration. Yeah, so I hear random people saying, I just use Control C for everything, and I'm like, oh my God, please God, don't let anybody listen to this person on this particular point. And I'm not gonna bring it up. That was the beginning of some massive drama I had with some people in the past. I don't want to get into it right now. Just whatever. Now you can make your own decision. All right, so exiting Vim. We already know how to exit Vim. Why? Because we practiced. Does this look familiar? Where did this come from, people? So the first question, is this command a Vim command? Trick question. Trick question. Always press this key. Double I. Oh, I would never do that. I would never ever do that. Is this a Vim command? It looks a lot familiar. It looks familiar to something we did 2 hours ago. So this isn't Vim at all. This is an X command, otherwise known as ed in the earlier day. This says quit and don't save. That's what the colon means. Anytime you see a colon in anything in Vim or VI, you are executing an X command or something, and Vim has gone on and added a bunch of extra commands. A ton of extra commands. So that's why we did ed first, so you could see what the base ed commands are, and then you can, and then Vim added a few more of their own, and then you got, NeoVim that just goes ballistic and just completely throws everything out. So now you can see. I don't know why I'm recording a macro. Did I start a macro? I didn't mean to. I must have pushed Q on accident. Anyway, this exits the editor, discarding any changes you would have made. Before executing the steps, we'll read this entire lesson. Press the escape key. Make sure you're in normal mode. Okay. Normal is also command mode. That's when you're moving around without changing anything. Insert mode is the other one that shows up in the bottom. Type :Q, enter. This exits the editor, discarding any changes. Get back here by executing the command that got you into this tutor. It's not a tutor, it's a tutorial. That might be Vim tutor, etc. If you have these steps memorized and are confident, execute steps 1 through 3 to exit and re-enter the editor. I mean, this is so lame. I made Vim Trainer. I started making a Go program called Vim Trainer, and I need to finish it, actually. Discards any changes you made. In a few lessons, you will learn how to save files and change them. Move down to lesson 1.3. Okay, so what are we going to do here? It says we're going to quit, and then we're going to start it back up again. Right? So :Q, exclamation point. All right, and then we're going to do Vim tutor to start back again. Yay, and then we have to go back to where we were. All right, so now we know how to get out. :Q, exclamation point says quit without saving. All right. Lesson 1.3. We got to go faster. It's going to take us too long. Taking way too long for this. Text editing deletion. Press X to delete character. Remember I was telling you I was confused about ed having an X command? Move the cursor to the line below the mark, like blah, 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 down here. To fix the errors, move the cursor until it is on top of the character to be deleted. Let's do the C. X. I'm going to go on the D. X. I'm going to go on the V. X. I'm going to go on the R. X. Go on the H. X. I'm going to go on the 2 O's. X. X. Mon. I'll add an O back because I was too overzealous. And then what? Press the X key to delete all unwanted characters. Repeat steps 2 through 4 until the sentence is correct. Now that the line is correct, go on to lesson 1.4. And there's no checking. They don't check you here. As you go through this tutorial, do not try to memorize them. Just learn the usage. So they're just trying to teach you the basic usage, and then you're going to go through and edit stuff. And that's what you should do right away after this, is go actually edit notes and stuff. Text editing. Insertion. Press I to insert text. Move to the cursor. We got ads running or no. Move the cursor to the first line below, blah, 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 to make the first line, blah, blah, blah. Press I. As each error is fixed, press escape to return to normal mode. Repeat steps 2 to 4 to correct the sentence. There is text missing. Miss I. See the insert down here, right? It tells me I'm in insert mode. MIS. And then I have to push escape. I actually pushed escape. And then I. And then escape or control F bracket. This text is missing. This is, okay, SOME. Text missing. I from control F bracket. I line, control F bracket. When you're comfortable inserting text, we go on to lesson 1.5. All right, here we go. Press A to append. Capital A. Capital A. Did you see that it says capital A? What does basic just A do? If you just do A by itself, it appends after the current letter, which is different than ed. Ed appends to, the end of the, it opens up the editor and you type whatever and you put a dot on a plain line and it does the thing. It's kind of different. So control, as a general rule in Vim, anything that's a capital almost always operates until the end of the line or something. Not always though. So press A and type it as a necessary addition. Okay. As the text has been appended, press escape to return normal mode or control F bracket. Move the cursor to the second line marked blot and repeat steps 2 to 3 correct the sentence. There is some text missing from this line. So I can be up here in the middle of this line here. In the middle of the line, I do Control A and I type is line dot and then Control left bracket. Oopsie. You know what's funny is I'm like having to think about, because my fingers just don't. So down here, if you're at the end of the line, you Control A, it also works. It still works. Right? And then Control left bracket. All right. When you're comfortable, keep going on. Editing a file. Now, WQ. Remember we did WQ? What command? Where did this come from? Ed. Right? There's another way to do this. And you could do... you can also use ZZ. I'm going to put the ZZ there for you. All right? You can use ZZ to save a file too. And I usually show the ZZ Top legs video right here. She got legs. She knows how to use them. It's a mnemonic device. Boy, does it work. If you have access to another terminal, I can't get it out of my head now. Well, we'll save that for the IRL stream. Yeah. Do the following there. Otherwise, exit the tutor. Stop calling it tutor. It's not a tutor. It's not a thing. As you did in lesson 1.2, colon K. As the shell prompt, type this :vim file dot txt. Vim is the command. Editing a file is the name of the file you wish to use. Okay, so no surprise there. If you type vim space and the thing, then you can do it. Now I'm going to show you a bit later how to alias vi to vim, so that if you type vi or vim, it'll both work, and then that way you just get used to typing vi, which I recommend because you might be on a system that doesn't have vim. I'm just saying. So we're going to actually edit a file. All right. And I'm going to do this over here just in a do thing. So what they're saying to do is do vim file.txt. We've been doing this all day. Hello there. :WQ is what they want us to do. But as you can see, you can also do Shift ZZ. Shift ZZ is much faster, especially if you push, yeah, it's just faster. Shift ZZ is what I use. In the beginner tutorial, I have people use WQ because it relates to the ed stuff. Okay, so enough of that. Restart it, move down. Yes. Lesson summary 1. Okay, so we can move. H is left, J is down, K is up, L is right. To exit Vim, we do this. :Q exclamation point to save and trash the changes. WQ to save the changes. Or what? ZZ enter to save the changes as well. To delete characters at the cursor, type X, yes, to insert or append, I or A. There's more to it than that I'm going to avoid right now. Pressing escape will put you in normal mode. Pressing escape or Control left bracket will put you in this mode. Now continue lesson 2. Deletion commands. We're going to make it DW. DW is a command that you use all the time. So you go on top of a word. If you're in the middle of the word, you type DW. You notice how it only deletes to the end of the word. And that's because they didn't tell you this, but the W is a navigation. And so when you combine the editing, this is another thing about the tutorial I really don't like. It doesn't talk about this at all. The secret to understanding Vim is combining navigation commands with actions. Delete, change, yank, whatever. :X to exit and save at the same time. Yes, you can do that as well. Yeah, that's yet another version of it. Yep, that's another one. Yep, there's a bunch. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways of doing it. And I believe that's the standard NVI-ism. Actually, let's test it, shall we? NVI file. All right, let's do this. Let's say, well, we know WQ works because we tested that. We know :Q works. Shift CZ, ZZ. Yep, that works. How about :X? Works. Yep, that works too. So all of those are safe for VI or Vim. deleting stuff. So once again, before we get into this, the magic of VI is combining actions with navigation commands. So if you want to delete everything up to the end of a word, fine. What if you want to delete everything up to the next regular expression? I'm gonna go jump ahead here, but the magic is the combination of navigation and commands, and this is based on sort of on ed a little bit, right? So let's say I want to delete everything up to the word capital note. I do this all the time. Delete /note. You see that? You see what it did? Well, I'm going to say it again. The magic of Vim is combining navigation and action commands. Delete, write, change, append, paste, and all the different ways of moving around a file. And those are things that don't necessarily require you to go into ed mode, which is the colon thing, or X mode. So if you want to delete a word, sometimes it's easier to memorize this. There's actually a command that says, actually the Parmesan, his favorite command is DAP. And I learned DAP from him. And so I want to give him credit for that. DAP is delete everything in this paragraph, DAP. And then you can paste the paragraph someplace else. And it doesn't matter what paragraph it is, right? So I'm giving you a little bit more on the delete thing here because DW is overly simplistic. It doesn't tell you all the things you can do here. So DAP. I use DAP for everything. I use it for everything now because I almost always want a paragraph. I don't just want a single line. DAP is a Vimism. Yeah, it is. I know. I know it's a Vimism. I hate that it is. And but yeah. So if you're in Go and you're in something that has knowledge of if you're in Go or some other program that has knowledge of the syntax, you can do FAP, which will delete the whole function. DAW, delete a word. Yes. This lesson is operators in motion. Is it really? Okay. So delete a word. Let's do that. DW. Okay, we got that. Okay, so it's just going to here DW to make sure we're disappear. The letter D will appear on the lane. Blah, blah, blah. There are some words, delete DW, that don't belong DW in this sentence. All right. CIW. I use CIW too, yeah. Yeah, I use that all the time. Yeah. Yes. Repeat steps 3 and 4 until it's done. Okay, we did that. We're done. Next, more deletion commands. The $D to delete to the end of the line. There's an alternative to command commands. Anybody know it? It blows my mind that they didn't put this in here. All right, I have a question. How did we append to the end of a line? How did we append to the end of a line? Right? We did capital A, yeah? So why did they not do capital D here? I don't get it. It would have been so much more consistent. Just capital D. You only need capital D. You don't need $D. You can do $D if you want, but capital D does the same thing, and it always has. Always has. This is like one of those things where the college people who made this did not know what was up. So somebody typed the end of this line twice. Capital D, gone. I just do not get it. I mean, it's so much easier to type. It's so much easier to type, and they just lifted off the tutorial. That is this one of the cases where I specifically made a commit request, and Brahm's like, nah, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not fine. So put a D, capital D for the win. All right, next. Operators in motion. Yeah. This is what who was talking to us about this? Mossy, thank you for having to. D plus some motion, right? So it's really the action, plus that. D is a delete operator. Motion is something. That's probably why they did DW. I'm guessing. I see what they did there. Okay, I forgive them. I see because the next section is on motion, right? The next section is. I've been branded in my muscle memory. Yeah, but DW has been brought in. So that's why I think this is a travesty. They also don't do capital C at all. They do like C dollar, and I'm like, capital C is the same, you know. It's such a travesty that so many people have got this particular way burned into their muscle memory without learning the other way. The only reason they did D dollar here is because it led into operators of motion next. It's the only reason. Because it does make sense. Like here, it's like, okay, we're going to move to the end of the line. You know, E, end of the current word. I never remember E and W, by the way. DW goes to the start of the next word. This is important because this does get rid of the spaces and stuff and the tabs and thing. And that's why you want to use DW for that, for most of those things. Typing will delete to the cursor. Just like a motion. We covered that already. DAP deletes to the paragraph, and A goes to the beginning of the paragraph. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me try. No, that's not it. I don't know why. D A P. I don't know why. I don't know why. Honestly, don't. I think it's a Vimism, though. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that one out later. It's definitely a Vimism, though. I think Vim does some extra navigation stuff with them. Listen to 2.4. Get the next blank line. Dip only gets the words. Interesting. I just know it deletes a paragraph. Boom. Using a count for emotion. Delete a paragraph. DAP. I wonder if it actually is like an actual command. I do wonder that. I think it might be delete a paragraph. I think it might actually be that. It's not in VI though. So using a count for emotion. So you can put 2, 3, whatever, right? So repeat 2 steps, everything. This is just a line with words you can move around in it. So let's like delete these 2 words. D2W. I'll put up here and then P. You don't know that yet, but that's the thing. All right, move on. 0 moves to the start. Also GG or GG to move to the start. So GG goes to the start. Nobody uses GG. VAP or VIP. Yep. The IP and the AP, inner paragraph and outside paragraph or whatever, that's like a big Vimism. And they use that for functions. Like if you're gonna take a function in code and you're gonna move it around, I think AP might actually be a paragraph. I don't know. I don't have anything. If you can figure that out, let me know. I've been using that, but I don't know why it works because it doesn't fit any of this description so far. But I think that's why it's a Vimism. Using a count to delete more. So delete. So you can delete 2 words. Yeah, we just did that. Delete 2 words. D2W. Now, I usually do 2DW, which does the same. I usually put the number before it. You don't have to do that. Both work. All right. So if I number with, right, I can do 2DW, and it remembers both of them, deletes both of them. Or I can do D2W, which is much harder to type. So I do 2DW, and then it gets rid of both of them. Oh, you found it? A paragraph. Select count paragraph, see paragraph. A blank line. That's interesting. Inner paragraph. Interesting. I know. Do they have? I think there's function too, right? Yeah. By the way, if you forget anything, guys, help. So you can do help. Hey, how's it going? You do H for help. So let's do what is at AF? I think is function. Yeah. Oh, it's not. It's not in there. Oh, that's added by Go. Go adds AF, which is outer function, and then IF is inner function. The guts of the function call, which is, I mean, that's an important thing. Oh man, it's raining outside. I don't know how much IRL we're gonna get done today. But here, how are you? Welcome. Good to see you. You can also do DA for parentheses or DA quote for quotes. Yeah. DA quote. DA quote It doesn't seem to want to work for me right now. Good day for Vim. 2.5. We got an hour left. Can we do it? All right. So just know that you can combine these things. I don't ever do D2W. I always do the number first. It's just easier. So let's say you want to delete three characters, right? 3x. I always put the number before. Oh, we inside quotes or parentheses. I did not know that. Very, very cool. That's really cool. I did not know that. I want to do that now. I just learned something today because it's Twitch and there's good people here. Are you saying I can do DI quote? Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. You're getting credit for that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I've been doing this for 25 years. Did not know that. Vim Genius is good. Vim Genius is good, but as always, we talked about this before, stick with Vim. I actually got the Vim Genius guy to add ZZ. It wasn't on there. I had him add a couple things. I had him add control of bracket too, as an option because you can use it for escape. The Vim Genius guy, the guy who does it, is really great. I like it a lot. As I've said before, though, please stick with using the tool first and then go out to web and other thing. You know, your best practice using Vim is actually using it to code with and having a cheat sheet next to you or something like that. By the way, I have several, but I won't go into that right now. You can find your own. VI bracket. I use that one the most. Yeah, it works with brackets too. Yes. Yeah, I use brackets all the time. That's something I do use. Oh, I keep turning them on. I don't know why. Wait, what are we on? Oh, I did a find on accident. Okay. Thank you for the quote thing, though. I'm gonna do that again. Here we go. I'm gonna delete outer quotes. Delete outer. Whoops. DA quote. That's so awesome. Why has that been all my life? Where has that been all my life? Oh, that's amazing. Why have I not known about that? That's definitely a Vimism. It is definitely, that's why I don't know about it. That's why I don't know about it. It's a Vimism. Watch. I'm going to prove it. I don't know why I spring Inspector Gadget every time I do this. All right, here we go. My Vimisms. Yeah, Vimisms, but that's why I don't have them in my muscle memory because, you know. All right, here we go. You ready? I'm about to be really saddened. So, delete inner quote. May not be used as a motion command. This is another thing. Ed and VI and X don't let you put numbers after the actions. You have to put them before. That was the thing I was trying to get at. You can't do it. Yeah, there's no DAP here. There's no delete inner quotes here. No, that's all. That is not there. That, and you know, look, if you want to do it, that's fine. Just know that, and I do. I have let several Vimisms creep into my muscle memory, and I do not regret it any further. You can't do it. It doesn't have it. It doesn't have it. Not in VI. VI doesn't have it, but Vim has it. So that's cool. Until you don't have it. And then you're like, well, what do I do? Oh, yeah, I can just hold X down, right? Or what can you do? What else can you do? What's an equivalent command? We haven't done this yet, but let's do it. I do this all the time. My equivalent of that is to get to the right place, and then I do DT quote, and that does the same thing. And that's supported in VI. And that's why I don't use it. Yeah, the DF quote is nice and all, but you cannot do it unless you know VI, unless you know Vim. You have Vim. I'm going to stick with my VI-isms and not my Vim-isms. I'm not going to start using that. It's cool and all, but I'm not going to. I don't need it. I don't need it. If all I need to do is get on the right word, and then I can delete everything up to the next quote. Yeah, delete 2 is way better. So like, watch, I can delete everything from here up to the next dashes, right? D/-- Boom, done. And that's what I use. That's what I use for everything. And it works in VI. So I'm not going to do that cool little quote trick. It is cool and all, but I'm not going to use it. Why would you ruin your muscle memory for no reason? The method that I just showed you works everywhere, every time, and it's less to remember. So DT dash will work if there's more than one dash. The one I did is, the reason I'm always using search terms is, watch, I want to delete everything up to uppercase, D/upper. I do this constantly. I constantly do that. If there's no muscle memory to ruin, look, I'm just going to tell you, before you add a vimism into your muscle memory without knowing this alternative, be very careful. See you, Seferic. It was term down. Yeah, TERMDOWN. There's a few of them actually out there. There's one in Go, and yeah. This is ABC line. Replace the limited different to capture, delete the consecutive uppercase words with one command. All right, so I'm going to use 2DW. 2DW. I don't even think, wait. I don't think... you know what? I don't think you can even use this. I don't think you can use 2DW in VI. I'm gonna go look. I'm gonna go look here. I want to check this for everybody. Okay, so if I'm using NVI, and we're gonna do file, right? All right, so let's try this. They want us to delete both of these words with a single command in VI, right? So let's try to do what they said. So they wanted us to do D2W. All right, that works. Okay, so that's good. That's a VI thing. It's not just a vimism. How about 2DW? Also works. All right, so that's nice. That's nice. That makes me warm and fuzzy, because that means that this method is going to work. I'm a big 2DW fan. I don't use D2W. It's too hard. 2DW. And then we'll do 4DW, 4DW, and then we'll do 3DW. Operating on lines. We're not going to make it, are we? 4 o'clock. Operating only on lines. So DD, anytime a thing is repeated, DDYY, it means do it to the current line. One line. It's just a really fast way of doing the current line. So you go to the line you want. 4, 5, 6, 7. Roses are wed. Nikes. Roses are wed. Money is fun. DD. I have a car. Clocks tell time. Sugar is sweet. And so are you. 2DD. Yeah. I mean, you get it, right? So you just... You see that? I just typed /DD. That's my normal go-to to moving around. I am a search-centric VI user because it works in everything. Press U to undo the last command. U to fix up the whole line. I don't use capital U ever, but it's a thing that people do. Move the cursor below. Fix this line. What? Fix the errors on this line and then replace them. Okay, so line E. And what's something to do? Okay, now I want to fix up the whole line. So I can just type U. Oh boy. Or I can just type 1 U and it will do the whole thing. I never do that though. I never remember it. I always it's too scary to me to undo all the changes in the line. I always undo the last change because I never know how many changes so I don't use capital U. There are very useful commands that we want to listen to. Delete DW, DE goes to the end of the word, which is, I do DE sometimes. Usually not, though. D dollar is the end of the line, or capital D. Shit. Holy shit. That hit a pole right outside our house. Did you see it? Did you see the light flash? Oh my gosh. I ain't going anywhere near there. I am not going anywhere. Dude, this is like a killer lightning storm. That thing struck ground right there. Right there, like right on my window. Wow. It's Zeus is like, are you trying to teach them VI? Oh, there's like a really severe thunderstorm right now. It's like a really bad one. A North Carolina hot afternoon thunderstorm. The kind where, kicks up tornadoes and stuff. The Emacs people sent it. The gods of Emacs. Zeus is an Emacs guy. Oh, that needs to get clipped. Somebody needs to clip that. Oh, okay. To repeat a motion, prepend it with the number 2W. Yes. We did that. Operator motion. To move the start line 0. Yada, 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 yada. To undo the undos, type Control R. This is actually worth learning. I don't use it hardly ever, but my heck is it important. So sometimes I'll accidentally get overzealous in my undos, and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Thank you for the clip. Yeah, I don't know if I'm doing something wrong over here or something. I know, I'll put a bunch of electronics on my body, and then I'll go out into the rain. You prefer Vishnu because of the eye. Oh, whoa. That is fantastic. You know what? I think you might have convinced me. I don't know if I want to play this. Do I want to play this? I can't hear it. Holy shit. that hit a pole right outside our house. I'm like yelling. Why am I yelling? Shit. I'm way loud right now. I'm loud anyway. I know. I tried. Are we gonna get through this? We have to get through this. We're getting there. I want to go outside. I can't go to the thunder. I can't go to the sunset if there's like thunder and lightning outside. Darn it. Anyway, all right, here we go. I'm kind of loud, but I'm loud anyway. YouTube likes loud mics for some reason. I don't know why. We made it to 3. Yay! We got 7 to go. So the P prints the previous thing after the current cursor, which is different than ed. Ed prints the current thing, right? So what do we do here? So P usually always goes with DD or YY. So we can do this. We can do DD, go to the top and type P and press. Go over here and go DD and then type P and press and we get it there. Okay. Terminal Google search. Yes. Yes. Okay. So the replace command, the RX command, as in medicine, to replace the character at the current cursor with X. Move the cursor to the first line below and replace it with something. So the thing you have to know about R is it only replaces one character, right? So it's only for typos and stuff. Wham this time. So RE, right? When this RN, my cursors are hiding in the things too, which is also bad. I don't know why that is. It doesn't have the right color for some reason. My thing's messed up. RP, why someone press some wrong keys. I don't know why. Oh my gosh. Oh, the houses are steaming because the rain's coming down so hard and everything has been so hot. All the houses are steaming. It's crazy. All right. So anyway, now move to less than 3.3. Okay, if you say so. The change operator, CE. Change to the end of a word. Now, the thing that's unfortunate they don't tell you about here, to change to the end of a line, type capital C. And this is really too bad because, you know, say you want to change to the end of a line, capital C. They don't cover it all. They should. Capital C something. Right, and then I undid it. Okay, so move the cursor to the first line below. Do the U, place the cursor on the U and blah, 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 blah. Type C and correct the word, in this case, INE. All right, so we go on the U. And we type CE, INE. Oh my gosh. It is insane out there. We might lose power. It's insane out there right now. My dog has got to be terrified. Where is she? She's on my desk right now. This line has a few CE words that why are they using CE instead of CW? That's what I want to know. Why are they using CE instead of CW? I use CW for everything. I use CW for this stuff. Words that need changing using the change operator. I use CW for that. You use whatever you want, but I use CW.